Best Ball Breakfast is back. Loaded show today. I'm going to do a solo draft. We're going to have Mike Leone back in the saddle, Pat Kerrane at his usual time at 11 a.m. Eastern. And then our rotating guest this week, Pat Mayo from the Mayo Media Network, will be joining me batting cleanup. I'm Pete. This is Best Ball Breakfast. Let's get to it.
It really isn't that hard, guys. You just go top two, win it, win it. Okay, I think we can be done here at running back. You only have 3 running backs. This roster is littered with game theory, arbitrage, exploits, and theoretic reasoning. Bro, light mode, my eyes, dude. I don't know. I prefer that move more in a time box contest. Bro, have you ever scrolled so far down that, like, there's no more names, bro? Don't do drugs, kids. Draft and drive instead. You can't have it both ways, dude. Quid pro quo.
All right, GMs, what is going on? We got the crew all out. Yes, hope everybody had a great Father's Day yesterday. We only had one toddler meltdown during dinner, no less. But other than that, it was a great weekend. What is up? Nez, Alex, Hoop, or no, not Hoop, Who Hames. Can I please lobby for Underdog to come to the UK, please? I can lobby as much as you'd like. I don't know how much it is going to help, but I feel you. What up, Paul? We just got to go top 2. Win it. GMs, my eyes. GNs and GMs. What's up, Alex? What's up, Fryer? What's up, Frankie Dash? Fantasy Football Garage. Paul needs a coffee pour. So do I. Yes, we are ready to roll here. I got to ease into the coffee pour. Maybe we get this draft filled. Maybe we get rolling for a second, get a pick under our belt. But yes, excited to be back for Best Ball Breakfast. Leone was out last week. I believe he was at the Establish the Run retreat. Maybe we can get some good stories from him about Evan Silva and Adam Levitan during the retreat there. All right, I hopped in a draft. I got the 1-5 here. Let's get the screen shared. Let's get everything rolling here, and we'll be off to the races. I don't got any rankings or anything in here. We're gonna raw dog these solo drafts just off of ADP. I've been drafting some of the schnauzers over the weekend, doing some cardio club schnauzers. So, keeping the muscles fresh. The draft muscles are fresh. What have you guys been drafting this weekend? Did you guys take advantage of the sprint promo? I did do a few sprints, but I did not get in enough to unlock the promo. It's because that we talked about it on Off and On the Clock. I refuse to enter the slow draft streets yet. I bet I will eventually, but I'm just not quite there yet. I'm fast draft only. Looks like this is going to be my 41st Best Ball Mania draft. We'll get this pulled up here. 41st, man. So probably by about the end of the week, at least by next week, I'll be a third of the way through with all of my Best Ball Mania drafts. Wild. Absolutely wild. All right. Let's see. What are we going to cook here at 1-5? We see Chase, Barkley, Lamb go. And then I will most likely take Gibbs here, or Bijan Robinson. Yeah, let's grab a Bijan share here at 1-5. And now we are ready to rock. Let's get the draft board going on over here. There we go. OMG finally got in. I think I saw you on Twitter saying you're never able to get in these drafts. Glad we could make it happen today. Ooh, ETR retreat shower narrative. Yeah, we got to find out who is bunking with who. What's up, John, from the 111? Maxing Schnauzer 2. I am. I think I am on my way to maxing the Schnauzer 2. I think I have like 8 left. TCD was drafting some or did some real life sprints. So do I. That's my Monday morning routine before Best Ball Breakfast. I go and do sprints on the hill behind my house and get a quick workout in before I sit here and draft fantasy football teams for 4 hours straight. Hartman got all the sprints in fast. Shout out JMC. There you go. Keaton's going to finish up his schnauzers today. Flip the board, dude. When was the last time I flipped the board hard? Oh, it was with Reeves, right? Last week with Reeves on Best Ball Breakfast. We took what? CMC at 102. Jacob is leaning into some RB heavy builds right now. Joey, you did not miss the pour. You know what? We're really building up to it. I like to build anticipation. I think after I make this second round pick, I will be ready for a coffee pour. All right. Let's see what we got going in this room. This is a friends and family, right? We got Hawkberg, we got JJFC, we got my guy Mark Wolf in the 101. Oh, okay. This room, are we just going to go full high T? Are we just going to go? Chris says Derrick Henry-esque. I think so. Derrick Henry at pick 20. Let's do it. Let's battle the piss boys this morning with some testosterone. We start Bijan. We start Derrick Henry. Let's go. Let's go. You want to draft all your wide receivers? Bring it. Bring it. All right, here's the pour. You want me to edge the pour? You just want a little bit? Is that what I should start doing? Just giving you just a little. You see that drip? The problem is if I edge the pour, I start to make a mess. So you're going to get a real pour here. No way. Brandon says, I'm listening to the show in my dentist chair getting a cavity filled this morning. Do you have an earbud in? How are you doing this? I have never listened to any media when I go into the dentist office. Is that even allowed? I always just put my phone away and put it on silent. I think my mind is about to be blown. Are you allowed to listen to podcasts while you're at the dentist? Is this a thing? Do you guys do that? I just thought this was hey, the dentist might need to talk to you. Sometimes you're getting, that is wild. My brain is blown by this comment here. Let's see here. Let me make this pick, and then I got to get to the bottom of this whole dentist thing. I got to get to the bottom of this. Are you guys just out there ripping podcasts while in the dentist chair? All right. I am on the clock. We are going to have to finally grab a wide receiver here. I've been leaning into the Tyreek Hill stuff. I've been kind of playing this angle lately of not wanting to be out on him. I've been getting a lot of him just because he slips and everybody's pretty spooked. But on a team like this where I start Bijan and Derrick Henry, let's continue to swing for the fences here with Tyreek Hill as my first wide receiver. What happened to where's my draft caddy overlay? Might have to look into that. Hang on. All right, okay, we got Brandon saying you can't respond when a dentist talks to you anyway. I feel like I have lots of, they know kind of to ask yes or no questions, and you're just like, yeah, exactly. Kids wear iPads during class now. Nothing is off limits. Yeah, this is what I am. It's whatever awful elevator music or, radio music they have on, you just have to deal with it. It's a free country. You could listen to podcasts, whatever you want. No, there's a few times, when you're on a plane for takeoff, even though that was debunked and all devices must be turned off, there's just a few places where we need to respect the arbitrary rule. I don't know. I think it just strikes me as somewhat rude. Do you come in with I have so many questions, Brandon. When do you pop in the earbud? Is it after you do the pleasantries? They ask you how you've been or whatever, and you're like, hey, I'm just going to pop this in right now. I'm just fascinated by how this sausage gets made in this situation. No TV at my dentist, just a huge window looking outside to birds and squirrels running around. Some of you guys, man, you guys must go to fancy dentist office. You guys have TVs in there? Man, I just got, mine are just like some boring cubicle ass room, white walls, maybe a painting if I'm lucky. All right, I'm back on the clock. We got wide receiver options here. DJ Moore, Jamison Williams, Travis Hunter, Devontae Smith. I feel like I need some targets. I feel like there's not a lot of targets involved with these guys. Should I join the great? I have so little Jamison Williams. Should I finally do it? I'll do it for the people. Jamison Williams has been a pretty polarizing player. There's been some big debates about it over on ADP chasing. I think this might be my first BBM share of Jamison Williams. I'll do it for the people. Bijan Robinson, Derrick Henry, Tyreek Hill, Jamison Williams to start this team. But I swear to God, if you JMO slappies who are convinced he's making the leap into the upper echelon of wide receivers, it's on you. I'm going to blame all of you guys if it doesn't work out. I do like a good motivational poster on the ceiling. Jeff T says his dentist steals his teeth and steals them and sells them on the black market. All right, Brandon's still answering my questions. I pop it in right before they start. We do exchange pleasantries. My hygienist always asks about my fantasy teams, though. She plays in a family season-long league, so we chop it up about that. I love that. Okay, we're back on the clock. Let's take should we value hound a little Cortland Sutton here? I'm normally taking Calvin Ridley in this spot because Cortland Sutton isn't here. Let's do it. We'll take Cortland Sutton. And now we have 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers through 5 rounds. Just doing a little value hounding this morning. Bijan at 5, Derrick Henry at 20, Tyreek Hill right at ADP of 29, JMO right at ADP of 44, Cortland Sutton at 53 here. Kind of a grown-ass man team. Sutton, Derrick Henry, Bijan. The slappies will just say you should have gotten Travis Hunter. Yeah. You know, I could have. This string of wide receivers here, DK Metcalf went off the board, and then I had the choice between Jamison Williams, Travis Hunter, Devontae Smith, DJ Moore, and they all go off right away. Yeah, Sean talked about Jamison Williams a little bit on last week's show. I do think it's a difficult price. I I understand why we're drafting him specifically in a contest like Best Ball Mania. I guess the way I would think about it is I'm kind of drafting him more with the assumption that I'm not going to get a player who's going to be selected in the second round of drafts next year. Like, I don't really think, that kind of level breakout is in the cards for Jamison Williams. I'm drafting him because he's tethered to a really good offense, and I think he could have some massive, massive spike weeks that help you out in very important times. And I like the Detroit Lions playoff schedule, but I just think it's a little wish casty to be like, yeah, we're going to be drafting him at the 1-2 turn next year. I think a lot of the upside is kind of baked out or baked into that current price. Let's see here. I think we can still grab a running back in here. Let's keep grabbing running backs. I feel like a team where you have Bijan and Derrick Henry is a pretty fun one to tack on Trevion Henderson. We'll get a third running back here, and then this next pocket of wide receivers is fairly flat. So we'll be able to get another wide receiver in the early 7th, most likely. And then we'll see how we feel heading into the 8th. So Bijan, Derrick Henry, Trevion Henderson at running back, Tyreek, JMO, Cortland Sutton with the first 3. Chunk the Deuce likes this start. 3 holes living a little. Yeah, what is 3 hole doing? Okay, wow, yeah. They started CD Trey and then grabbed Jaden McDaniels at 27 and then comes back and does a Devontae Jalen Hurts double tap. Yeah, as long as if you had just flipped Jaden Daniels to a a wide receiver, this team looks awesome. But yeah, the Jaden and Jalen Hurts through 5 is pretty tough. Is pretty tough. Is Travis Hunter excelling at DB cause for concern? No. I think it would be cause for concern if he was really bad at it. Because then the Jags would be like, why the fuck did we trade up to number 2 overall for this guy who's not even excelling at defensive back in shorts right now? I do think that would be a concern. All right, let's see what we want to do here. Sam Laporta kicking around, no quarterbacks. I think we probably need to grab a wide receiver here. I guess we can do Diggs. None of the fun wide receivers fell to me because this room continues to vacuum up the wide receivers. So we saw Pearsall, Jaden Reed, Shakir, Golden all go. We could also pull up. No, we have Trevion Henderson. Let's do Diggs. Maybe we end up doing something with Drake May, although I'm sure Pat will be really devastated if I build out a Drake May stack before he gets here. But we can use that as the tiebreaker. Double tap a couple of Patriots players at the 6-7 turn. What could go wrong? I agree with this take from Mark going back to the round 4 conversation. This, I think, gun to my head. So Mark says only thing is Devontae Smith is a lot better, well-rounded receiver than J-Mo. I do think he's a better wide receiver. I think that's my gun to head pick in that range. Would be Devontae. I still like Hunter a lot too. I probably have it like Devontae, Hunter, neck and neck, then Jameson, then DJ Moore. Dale is sad that I'm not overly correlating for week 17 in the first few rounds of my draft. Could have had the Ravens, Packers week 17 and Lions double J-Mo and Monty. The J-Mo and Monty isn't a bad call, but I'm being completely honest. I just do not think a ton about week 17 correlation through the first 4 to 5 rounds of my draft. I'm way more interested in trying to read the room. What do I need to do positionally? And then scooping up big ADP values, trying to get some combos that might be unique, like a Bijan Derrick Henry, and then figuring it out from there. Don't get me wrong. Like if I could have gotten one of Reed or Golden to come back, that would have been good. And maybe you could have made the case I take one of them there in the 6th and then see which running back comes back. I could have done that. But I also like Trevion Henderson. I think Trevion Henderson's a pretty big value in the mid to late 6th right now. All right, back on the clock here. Let's see. Probably sit on wide receiver at this pick. We could do the Bo Nix here. We could grab the TJ Hawkinson with opposite our Detroit stuff. TJ Hawkinson here. Let's just keep scooping up a little bit of value. We'll keep scooping up a little bit of a value. It gives us another quarterback out. So we now have Goff, Bo Nix, Drake May, Tua, and JJ McCarthy. Three running backs, Bijan Henry, Trevion Henderson, 4 wide receivers, Tyreek, J-Mo, Sutton, Diggs, Hawkinson at tight end. Who's been your best CLV pick so far in BBM? That's a good question. That is a good question. I can tell you who I've gotten bad CLV on, Jalen Knoll. I feel like I was clicking him a lot at 150, and now I'll get him at 170 regularly. That's probably my worst. I should pull up the Fantasy Life Best Ball Hub can show me my best CLV there. I'll try to keep thinking if I've had any good windfalls there. All right. So we got this patch of quarterbacks here. We could probably sit on quarterback still, or we could take Bo Nix. I feel like Bo Nix is a good backstack option. If I'm going to do the Cortland Sutton thing, we might as well entertain the Bo Nix here. Let's do Bo Nix and grab him as our first quarterback. So now we got a 1-3-4-1. Nick stacked up with Sutton, Bijan Henry, Trevion Henderson at running back, Tyreek Jamo, and Diggs along with Sutton and Hawkinson at tight end. It's always I'm constantly fighting the instinct to push quarterback when you have a bunch of them available, because you're like, oh, Goff, Drake May, Tua, JJ McCarthy. And then if you keep playing too fast and loose with it, next time you look up, you're on the queue or on the clock and they're all gone. So I keep trying to remind myself, hey, if you got a good quarterback at ADP or past ADP, like I did with Bo Nix, just pull the trigger here. And you can always get the second or third one at a pretty big discount. But if the queue gets evaporated, it can leave you in rough shape. This room did end up being very wide receiver heavy, though. Shaheed going well ahead of ADP. I guess Cooper Kupp is the one that falls. Luther Burden goes ahead of ADP. Keon Coleman goes ahead of ADP in this room. Darnell Mooney goes at 85. We'll have to get a little creative, but the Broncos are a pretty good one as far as building out a stack and having a few wide receiver options late with Mims and Pat Bryant. Yeah, I'm kind of the same. Miles says I don't have much Knicks, but definitely wanting more. Yeah, I'm kind of torn on him. He does seem like slightly expensive. Like when you benchmark him to a guy like Justin Fields, to Drake May, to some of those other guys like Love and Stroud and Lawrence, who I like a lot. So there's a little bit of sticker shock there. So I'm just trying to let, a Sutton pick, if I have any RJ Harvey pick, if Bo slides past ADP, if you got Chief stuff, just trying to find like excuses to get me on him, because I don't think I'm going to end up with a ton of him just naturally. Just knowing that you can get pretty decent players still in that 100 range, like the opportunity cost of passing on a Scatabo, a Trey Harris, there's some intriguing guys there. Whereas like the 2v2s for the skill position players going in the 120s are just not near as attractive. I do think this is the time. Let's go ahead and grab Evan Ingram here. Jared Goff goes one pick before me. That would have been a stack option, but this is kind of the point of not needing to force it. But yeah, Evan Ingram here, 7 picks past ADP, lined up with Bo Nix, I think makes sense. And I've done this is kind of a unique tight end build for me, just because I'm normally more polarized with it as far as like an elite guy up top or doing some more punt tight end builds, getting my first tight end in that Goddard Ferguson range. But in this draft, we grab Hawkinson at pick 92 and Ingram at pick 116. So 2 nice ADP values on these guys. Ingram obviously stacked up. East of Ethan is apologizing for taking Drake May. He's all yours, brother. He's all yours. It is indeed a value hound Monday. Evan Ingram, the Joker. So many jokers. Marvin Mims goes at 119. So we'll chill at wide receiver. Nobody wants Mark Ingram. Jesus, Mark Ingram at 124. Let's see. This is the only problem when you grab these tight ends, and it's like people passing on Mark Andrews at 125 is crazy. I think I should probably, should I probably grab a wide receiver here? Or should I continue to be patient? I'm just going to put JJ McCarthy in the queue real quick for me. I mean, we have that stack built out for week 17 where we have the McCarthy to Hawkinson with the JMO bring back. I'm not seeing a ton else I love here. Running back got wiped out. The wide receivers here are bad. I don't need tight end. Let's just grab our second quarterback for correlation purposes. We're going to have to dig out of this hole at wide receiver, though. That's for sure. I don't know what Mark Andrews did to everybody, though. CMG gets him at pick 126. Yeah, we are feeling high T after Father's Day. Had some steaks last night. Definitely feeling the tea. Here is the team. 2-3-4-2, 4 wide receivers through 11 rounds. Can we survive? Can we survive? Bo Nix, J.J. McCarthy, Bijan, Derrick Henry, Trevion Henderson, Tyreek Hill, Jamison Williams, Cortland Sutton, Stephon Diggs, T.J. Hawkinson, Evan Ingram. We're going to have to get creative at wide receiver. I see Jack Besh is finally falling now that the market learned that he's Dante Thornton's backup. Jack Besh goes here at 131. That's a good shout out from Nick. Tua, same bye week. I think now I can rock a 2 quarterback build like this. And then if the room wants to give me a really big discount on Tua, I could take it, but I don't have to. Yeah, the tight ends, 100 to 140 are just awesome. And I mean, yeah, I think you can even extend it. I mean, look at that. Dallas Goedert's 142, Ferguson 144, likely 145. Is this the prevailing theory on why Mark Andrews is dropping, because of that dropped pass to lose the playoff game? All right. I think I might. Do I still just stubborn this up? Like, I'm going to take Tajay Spears here. I know I still need wide receivers, but I just refuse. I just can't live with myself taking Quentin Johnston ahead of ADP. And I still like this running back range here. Let's take Tajay Spears almost a round past ADP. Bijan, Derrick Henry, Trevion Henderson, and Tajay Spears. I need to do some calisthenics for the wide receiver gymnastics I'm about to have to pull off here. All right, I guess we're finding out why Mark Andrews is washed. Andrews was bad all year. Come on now. I have a hard time saying Mark Andrews at 126 isn't an incredible value, unless you're just completely out on the Ravens offense, which would be a pretty weird take. Or you're just the biggest Isaiah Likely bull in the world and are projecting him to outright flip Andrews. Andrews is going to be out on the field, catching balls, getting used in the red zone. All right, I think it's time to take a wide receiver. Let's see here. What do we want to do? Who do we want to grab here? QJ, Leggett, Tillman, McMillan, Dobbs. I kind of like Dobbs here. We get the opposite Derrick Henry in week 17, and a guy that we just know is going to be running a lot of routes. And I think at this point in the draft, when we're getting our wide receiver 5 at pick 149, we should probably just get some guys that are going to play, that are going to be out there doing some form of cardio, preferably earning some targets in the process. This does feel like a Wandell-ass team. This is my take. All of the Andrews risk is baked into his ADP at this point. We were taking this guy at the 2-3 turn in previous years, and I realized that some things have changed, but other things haven't. And I think there's lots of ways where we could see some, positive touchdown regression for Mark Andrews. I think the defense could potentially not be as good as it was last year. I mean, that's what fueled the original Mark Andrews breakout. What was that, the 3 to 4 years ago, paired with Tyler Huntley, when their secondary was just absolutely decimated and Mark Andrews went nuclear in the fantasy playoffs? But we are just getting really, really big discounts on profiles we were taking much earlier in previous years at the tight end position. I mean, literally last year, guys like Jake Ferguson and Dallas Goedert going significantly higher. Obviously, Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce, even Evan Ingram. I mean, all of these guys we used to have to pay more for. All right. This is a Pat Bryant click for sure. We have Bo Nix. We need a wide receiver. We need some goddamn youth on this team. We have Trevion Henderson. Everybody else is an old man. Let's add Pat Bryant here. We're kind of digging out. We're digging out. It was looking really scary there for a second, but we're keeping dialed. Here's the team. We're up to a 2-4-6-2 through 14 rounds. We got Bo Nix and J.J. McCarthy at quarterback. Probably going to end up with just a 2 QB build because we're going to need the extra bullet at wide receiver. 4 running backs. Love the running backs. Bijan, Derrick Henry, Trevion Henderson, Tajay Spears. Wide receivers, Tyreek Hill, Jamison Williams, Cortland Sutton, Stephon Diggs, Romeo Dobbs, Pat Bryant, tight end TJ Hawkinson, and Evan Ingram there. So we have 4 more picks. 2 of them are probably a wide receiver. I think we actually have a lot of flexibility. This could be one where we really go hard at wide receiver. Do I just keep clicking Jalen Knoll? It's hard for me to pass on Jalen Knoll on a team like this where I need some semblance of upside late. I'm just going to keep clicking him. We're going to grab Jalen Knoll as our 7th wide receiver here. Where did Tua go? That dream died. Tua ended up going at 148, which is fine. I think JJ and Bo Nix is fine as a 2 QB build. Are there any other super fringe quarterbacks late that makes sense for this team? I guess I missed out on Cam Ward with Tajay Spears as well. Cam Ward went at 163 right before I took Pat Bryant. No other obvious quarterback stacks here, but no biggie. I do always love, like, it's one of those things that is not mandatory when you draft. They will allow you to draft tight ends that aren't stacked up with your quarterbacks. That's really nice of Underdog that they allow that, but it really is clean. It's so clean when you get the quarterback with the tight end, the Bo Nix to Ingram, the JJ McCarthy to Hawkinson. It feels clean. Yeah, this does probably feel like a Ty Felton-ass team. Man, I have the chat is just absolutely Mark Andrews Bears. I guess where I'm curious what changed recently, because for most of this offseason, even pre-NFL draft, Mark Andrews' ADP has been pretty fixed around a tight band between 95 to 105. And now all of a sudden, everyone's worst fears about Mark Andrews are being realized. Was there news in the past week that would make him fall 20 picks past his already depressed ADP? Isn't this the case all the time? The louder people are the Andrews Bears. All right, 3 more picks here. I think I'm going to keep grabbing wide receivers. I was going to do either Diami or Keenan Allen. I think Diami is another really good wide receiver selection for this team. I basically did 2 guys who are just going to be out there on the field running a ton of routes in Romeo Dobbs, Diami Brown, and then paired them with kind of the mystery box upside of the rookies, Pat Bryant, Jalen Knoll. So if people are wondering how the experiment goes, where you only have 4 wide receivers before pick 149, how does that team look? Well, Tyreek Hill, Jamison Williams, Cortland Sutton, Stephon Diggs, Romeo Dobbs, Pat Bryant, Jalen Knoll, and Diami Brown. And we could still get to 9 here if we want to do like the Ty Felton thing. And then it's just kind of figuring out what we want to do. It's probably a 5th running back. I think Bijan Henry, Trevion Henderson, Tajay Spears is completely fine. Ooh, you know who I want to take? No, this isn't a Keaton Mitchell team. This is a big dog team. So forget that. Sean was definitely getting me pretty hyped up on Dylan Sampson. He's been a guy I've been clicking a decent amount in this range. Let's go ahead and do Dylan Sampson as our 5th running back. Now we have some of the level-headed analysis in here for the people saying that Mark Andrews is just bad now, or pretending like Mark Andrews was never good. Sack says Mark Andrews led the league in EPA, expected points added per target among all pass catchers in 2024. Makes you think. Makes you think. I'm kind of mad that I just didn't take Andrews at this point. Although it ended up being smart because I was debating between Andrews and Evan Ingram at 116. If I didn't have Bo Nix, I would absolutely have taken Andrews. And then he comes back to me at 125. But I think spending 3 tight ends in rounds 8 through 11 probably wouldn't have been the best. All right. I'm crowdsourcing this one. Chat, what do you think I should do here? I have a 2-5-8-2. I think I'm fine at every position. What do you guys think I should do with this last pick? Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy at quarterback, 5 running backs, Bijan, Henry, Trevion Henderson, Tajay Spears, Dylan Sampson, 8 wide receivers, Tyreek, J-Mo, Sutton, Diggs, Romeo Dobbs, Pat Bryant, Jalen Knoll, De'Ami Brown, and then 2 tight ends, Hawkinson and Ingram. Seems like chat is leaning to a wide receiver. I don't want to do any of these running backs. I don't like these running backs. I think a wide receiver with some upside. People like the Ty Felton angle. Chat mentioning Troy Franklin. I don't mind that one as well. Kind of do another correlated. I think I've done more. I've definitely done more Felton than Franklin. What was Sean Payton saying about Franklin the other day? Let me head over to my friend, the Coach Speak Index here. Here we go. June 12th. You're seeing Troy Franklin play faster with a much greater awareness within each play. He's extremely explosive. I think he's about 5 pounds heavier, a little thicker. He's had a good spring. We know that Sean Payton is a size queen. So the fact that he's noticing that Troy Franklin put on a little weight and called him a little thicker, that's bullish, folks. That's bullish. All right. This is the Omega Broncos stack. The Omega Broncos stack is in the books. 2592. I have not built a team like this in a while, but you get in one of these stream draft rooms with all the piss boys, and you made me do it. You made me do it. Here's the full team. Here's the full team. Bo Nix and JJ McCarthy, Bijan, Derrick Henry, Trevion Henderson, Tajay Spears, Dylan Sampson. Wide receivers, Tyreek Hill, Jamison Williams, Cortland Sutton, Stephon Diggs, Romeo Dobbs, Pat Bryant, Jalen Knoll, De'Ami Brown, Troy Franklin, TJ Hawkinson, Evan Ingram. I had fun building this one. Was I absolutely terrified about my wide receivers there at one moment? I was. But we stayed the course. We stayed patient. And I think rounding it off with Dobbs, Bryant, Knoll, Brown, Franklin works. This is one of those fun kind of teams, too, where there is, we talk about the different styles of drafters, the right wing slappies, the left wing slappies. This one is like a really nice blend. Generally, I would think the Bijan and Derrick Henry drafter isn't loving a Trevion or a Tajay Spears. The Tyreek Hill, Cortland Sutton, Diggs drafter probably isn't loving a Pat Bryant and Jalen Knoll. And then Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy, just been doing way more. It's the rare 2 QB, 2 tight end build that doesn't feature an elite quarterback or elite tight end. Maybe that's bad, but at least structurally, probably decently unique there. Nix, McCarthy, Hawkinson, Ingram. So you guys maybe do some gross stuff. Yeah, nice texture. Nice texture on this Monday morning. A Chief, yeah, Jonathan wanted a Chief there for a bring back on Denver. That's fair. That's fair. We did get the Minnesota-Detroit game. No Chief there. Frankie giving it an A-. Let's see here. Draft number 41 in the books. Draft number 41 in the books. Today is 6/16. 6/16, BBB, 2592, Denver and Minnesota. Also, you'll notice here, draft 39. This is a Deposit Kingdom video that is going to drop right after Best Ball Breakfast today. Been pulling up Easy in the chat. I've done a style of video like this with him a few weeks back. But my guest is Madison Parkhill. If you guys aren't familiar with him, he writes a really good Substack called Reducing Uncertainty. Really sharp best ball player. Doesn't do a ton of video or audio stuff, but I was able to coax him away from his keyboard to record a video with me where we went through favorite player structure, favorite galaxy brain angle, favorite late round dart, favorite stacks, etc. And then we drafted this team here. And so that video will debut on the Deposit Kingdom channel right after this at 2 p.m. Eastern. I have it set up for a live premiere, so you can head right over and watch it live if you'd like. Otherwise, you can watch it on playback as well. But he had some really good ideas about correlation as well, some really unique ideas on the Dolphins offense. So make sure you guys check that out. All right, let's see here. JGFC drafted all the Chiefs. Is that why I wasn't able to get them? Let me see here. JGFC, Mahomes, Daniel Jones, Russell Wilson. Talk about texture of a quarterback room. 6 running backs: Kenneth Walker, RJ Harvey, Travis Etienne, Jaden Blue, Roshan, and Keaton Mitchell. Neighbors, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Pickens, Ayuk, Slayton, Kelsey, Loveland, Likely. Yeah, so you did what I did with the Broncos with the Chiefs there. The Rice, Worthy, Kelsey, Omega stack. And Rashee Rice, yeah, middle of the second, and then Worthy middle of the third to kind of pull that off. One thing I will say is in the Schnauzers, at least, Worthy's been falling a good bit. Where did I get him this morning? I took him on this team. Yeah, I got Worthy at 43 on this team. 3672. But yeah, I feel like I've been getting Worthy a lot. Here's another one. I took him at 38. Now I'm just like scrolling through my Schnauzer teams like I'm Liam fucking Murphy. But yeah, I like buying the dip on the Worthy stuff as it kind of coincides with Rice getting more and more expensive there. Yeah, Mike got Worthy at a 45 last night here. Let's see here. Are we still arguing about Mark Andrews in the chat? Steve wants me to rip a 20-second before Kerrane comes on. We could do a little exposure check here. Looks like I'm at 110 drafts. Let's check Best Ball Mania exposures here. Luther Burden at the top for me here. Burden at 22.5%. Jawan Jennings at 20%. Jalen Knoll 20%. Shakir 20%. I really do not remember clicking Khalil Shakir at a 20% clip. Rashad White, I do feel like I click him a lot. Tet McMillan, Jaden Blue, Chase Brown. There's Worthy at 17.5%. Scatabo 17.5%. McCarthy is now my most drafted quarterback. That one kind of surprises me as well. I guess it makes sense in that there's so many good stacking partners at various ranges of the draft, whether JJ, Addison, Hawkinson, Puka ended up with a lot of Puka, double the field on Bowers, double on Hampton, Bryce Young, my second most drafted quarterback, some late wide receivers in here, A.D. Mitchell, Robinson, Hawkinson, actually a decent amount of Hawkinson. If I look at my tight end exposure, Bowers 17.5%, Hawkinson 15, Ferguson 15, Schultz. Oh God, I'm not going to beat the allegations that I don't love Dalton Schultz with a 15% clip there. Hunter Henry 12.5. I've been clicking Freiermuth more these days. I think he was already a pretty good price. Then you get the Rodgers bump, pretty clear number 2, I think, in that offense behind DK, kind of liking that. McBride at 12.5. Theo been doing a decent amount of kind of back stacks. Granted, this is just Best Ball Mania, but even in the Schnauzers and stuff, I like doing the, Dart Theo back stacks. Speaking of which, I wrote up a article for Fantasy last week, or Fantasy Life last week, where I refreshed my column on my favorite late round stacks. I had done this before the NFL draft, and it was interesting to see how things had changed. The one constant is the Carolina Panthers. I still think they're my favorite back stack here, but then also wrote up the Titans, the Colts, and the Giants as kind of my favorite go-to back stacks right now. I'll drop that link in the chat if you guys want to check it out. In addition to writing the Fantasy Life newsletter during the week, I also do a column up on Fantasy Life, best ball focused, once a week, generally dropping on Fridays. If you guys want to keep an eye out for that, I think I'll do kind of a midpoint check-in. I guess not technically midpoint, but just a check-in through 100+ drafts or so, and do some thoughts on that. Oh no. Does Liam have 20% Shakir too? I do think, if I actually think about it, I think it's because I'm doing like less extreme 0 RB teams. If I have 5 wide receivers, through 5 or 6 rounds, I'm not taking Khalil Shakir. It's the what does Shakir do for this team? But I do think it's a byproduct of taking more of the running backs early. If you grab the elite QB, if you grab the elite tight end, and you're just trying to bank some routes, bank some targets in that range, I think Shakir, Jacoby Myers are pretty nice ports in a wide receiver storm, so to speak there. So I think it kind of makes sense why I have him a decent bit. And also because so many of these drafts are streamed. And I think a guy like Khalil Shakir naturally slips in those rooms, just like we saw Cooper Kupp slip in the draft we just did. Trying to think anything else interesting here. Running back. Chase Brown is my most drafted early round running back at 17.5%. I guess both him and Hampton, top 50 picks there. Luckily getting this Marshawn Lloyd exposure down. For a while, it was way too high. I think, what was it, 2 weeks ago, Leone made me take a share on a team, but otherwise I've taken my feet off the gas there. Who else is in here? Pollard, Jordan Mason, Tootin, Kenneth Walker, Spears, JT. I saw the other day, Jacob posted a screenshot of all the players he has 0% on. No, that's my favorite dynamic on ADP chasing right now, because Jacob is the one with like hyper extreme exposures in both directions. A bunch of 40+% guys and a bunch of 0% guys arguing with Davis and Pat about respecting the market and having smoothed out exposures. It's great. Where's Brees? I don't know how much Brees I have. Not that much in BBM. Just about at the field. 7.5%. Slightly below. I think I'm fine with that. Shakir is just fancy Wan'Dale. Sure. But Wan'Dale Robinson with Josh Allen as his quarterback would be pretty exciting. Who are you light on in the first 2 rounds? Yeah, that's a good question. I think I've been getting my Henry exposure up. Derrick Henry, almost back to even on him. Who are we light on in the first few? Where am I at on Gibbs? Yeah, Gibbs I'm light on. This is just BBM, by the way, so it's not really. I feel like maybe going to my whole portfolio is a little bit more reflective of my takes. Since I'm drafting more of those by myself. Gibbs 6.4%. I'm slightly behind on. I'm more inclined to buy this argument that Wan'Dale is far too cheap. East of Ethan says Shakir and Wan'Dale are too close in points per game for a 90 pick ADP gap. Yeah, I mean, Robinson has been awesome at earning targets. I think he fills a role on specific teams. These are my overall exposures. So Tootin is my highest drafted there. I just continue to click the shit out of him in the 120s. Noel Burden, Downs is up higher here relative to my BBM exposures. Xavier Worthy, Pat Bryant, Tet, Marshawn redacted, Lloyd. Neighbors up here. Been clicking Neighbors a bunch. I guess these are kind of similar. The quarterback distribution's a little different. it does look like Jordan Love and Stroud are kind of emerging as my favorite quarterbacks in that range, not by a significant amount, 13.6%. But you could see, I mean, my quarterback exposures are smoothed all the way out. 13.6 to 10%. Look at how many guys I have at 10%. JJ McCarthy, Herbert, Geno Smith, Jackson Dart, Jaden Daniels, Trevor Lawrence, Matthew Stafford, Mahomes, Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy. Just smooth as a baby's bottom down there at run or quarterback. What's the Marshawn Lloyd news? It was just the concrete news, and I actually haven't seen an update, but it was a few weeks back. He was practicing with the rehab group. There was also a longer article about like all of his injury ailments, and the fact that he was still practicing with the rehab group despite, a full off season to recover, struck me as pretty bearish. And the whole thesis of clicking Marshawn Lloyd is where you feel good about his status as the RB2 behind Jacobs. And I just think that's fully in question now. I know there's an Emmanuel Wilson hive out there. I think he could definitely be the RB2. Marshawn Lloyd, it feels Kendre Miller-y to me. Not that the coaching staff hates him in the way the Saints coaching staff hated Kendre Miller, but just in this, you're continually injured. When you do get opportunities, you make mistakes. We just need to see some positive momentum on Marshawn Lloyd for me to get back in on him. And I will, because I like Marshawn Lloyd if I get that news. But right now, I'm on my knees begging for positive Marshawn Lloyd news because I have not been getting it lately. Here's a quote, though. I did just go to Coach Speak Index. Here was a quote he had from LaFleur on June 12th, so just a few days ago, on what a healthy Marshawn Lloyd brings to the offense. He's different in a lot of ways. He definitely has some great explosiveness and could be a real weapon out of the backfield. He's got to prove it. He's got to be able to get out there. It's certainly not for a lack of effort. He spent the majority of his offseason here. He's been in a much better place right now. I'm excited for him, but ultimately he's got to prove it. That is, I feel like a pretty accurate reflection of where both fantasy gamers and the Packers are at with Marshawn Lloyd. It's like, we want you to be a thing, Marshawn. We know you have some talent, but you have to stay healthy and you have to start making some plays on the practice field. So I will be monitoring that. I will continue to monitoring that, but he is on a do not draft list for me right now. So Billy says, buy the dip, Pete. Don't wait for good news. So here's the thing. If you get the most bullish news on Marshawn Lloyd imaginable, he is not going to rise into a range that is going to punish you. Like, let's look at a draft board right here. Let's look at a draft board. So Marshawn Lloyd in this draft, he went with the last pick. That's fitting right here. He went at pick 216. Say you start to get really good news. Hey, Marshawn Lloyd's the RB2. He's healthy. He's running behind Josh Jacobs in every drill, yada, yada. He maybe moves up into the 15th round. He's in the Will Shipley range where you feel really good about his RB2 status. Maybe he's going by Roshan Johnson, Rico Dowdle. I think that's about right. That's kind of the cap of where like a true handcuff, like there's no story about standalone value with Marshawn Lloyd, even if news is good. Like, it's the Josh Jacobs show. Like, you're drafting Marshawn Lloyd as a contingent running back to Josh Jacobs, if we get that confirmation. But the price jump is not going to burn you. So it's a good spot to just take your feet off the gas, because the difference between an 18th round pick and a 15th round pick is negligible. It's almost non-existent. ADP ceases to be a predictor of fantasy points in that range. So those are the spots where if the market isn't going to punish you for waiting on the news, you can always circle back and start clicking him at an aggressive rate. Exactly. Marshawn can probably go around 14, 15 at the highest. So look, everyone should live their life how they want to. If clicking Marshawn Lloyd brings you joy, I am not going to stop you from doing that. But clicking Marshawn Lloyd no longer brings me joy. It no longer brings me joy. All right. Billy says, for clarification, I'm a DK drafter, so 20 rounds is more open to a potential zero like Lloyd. I would say, like, you still don't want to be actively seeking out zeros. But yes, with 2 extra roster spots, you have a little bit more flexibility there. Let's see here. What was Levy wants to know? Sorry, I just said Levy as if it was Levitan. Levi wants to know, what's your Vele exposure? Likely to outscore Bryant and Franklin. So I don't mind the thought on Vele. However, I do think the factors at play in just how these guys are likely to hit, like, to your point, Vele is probably more likely to be a single. But if you're going to get a triple or a home run out of one of these late Broncos wide receivers, it's definitely going to be a Franklin or Bryant. Like, I just don't think, maybe you can educate me on how Vele could be a home run more than just a single. But I actually think when you look at Troy Franklin's prospect profile and his speed, when you look where they drafted Pat Bryant and how they're talking about him, I think you could see some massive, massive wins relative to ADP, where Vele to me strikes me as a guy who, if he hits, he's a 14th or 15th round pick next year, right? He does some nice things. He has a nice stretch. He does DeMario Douglas type things. Obviously, they're different types of players, but like that type of production. Whereas if Pat Bryant hits, like, we're talking about a guy who could be a 5th or 6th round pick next year. If Troy Franklin hits, he could be, a 10th or 11th round pick next year, depending on, how the overall offense does and, Bo Nix's continued development. So that's kind of my thought there. But yes, I am light on Vele relative to those guys. I just started clicking Troy Franklin, though. I think I've clicked him like 2 times. I still would prefer to just play it through Pat Bryant. But if we continue to get really positive news about Troy Franklin, I'll certainly mix him in. And if we get really good news about Vele as well. But when I just look at the personnel and how they've kind of assembled this team, it feels like a guy like Vele is the one who's going to start getting squeezed a little bit more. Yeah, new Peter Overs at Draft Overlay dropping the ask, does this pick bring you joy? The problem with the Marie Kondo draft strategy is it very closely aligns with just the slappy draft ethos, because essentially that's what a slappy is. They're only making clicks that bring them joy. Like, they absolutely refuse to make any selections that don't bring them joy, which is how you end up with a roster full of slappy picks. What you need to do, like, to become an evolved slap, which I'd like to consider myself an evolved slappy, is you have to be able to find joy in 2 things. One, a value hound. Like, if you can find joy in a player sliding around past ADP, Derrick Henry sliding 7 picks past ADP, then that can help you move past your slappy tendencies, because you're going to find joy in the value element, even if it's a player you don't like. And number 2, you need to be able to find joy in drafting different structures and different types of teams than you'd ideally draft. Like, if you just sketched out your perfect team, you need to be willing to enjoy heading down a different rabbit hole, not drafting your 5th wide receiver until pick 149. If you can do those 2 things and find joy in them, you can graduate from pure slappiness. But I do think the true slappy only makes picks that bring them joy. And they just refuse. They're like, I don't care if it's value. I don't care if it's a different structure. Nah. I'm just going to click my guys. And there's something to be said about that. Slappy drafters are happy drafters. They just live their best life. They're blissfully moving through draft season, clicking players that bring them joy. Finding joy in winning is something no slap has ever done. It truly is about the slappy picks we made along the way. Evolve Slap is a good name for a website. That could be Davis. If Davis can win a tournament and he launches his premium Substack that he's threatened for years, if he, can finish top 3 in one of these schnauzers, Evolve Slap. Being a slappy is great until week 3. All right. let's I've done enough vamping here. Let's bring Kerrane on. New here, the New York pad. How are we doing?
Doing good. I'm actually down at the beach right now, so hopefully my connection is okay. I'm having to go on hotspot because the Wi-Fi here was much worse than anticipated.
So far so good on
okay.
your end.
Good,
so
good.
I'll let you know. Considering last week the stream completely crashed, I'm willing to deal with a little bit of internet connection issues.
The Wi-Fi at the resort is a disaster.
It was like, man, it was last week. We didn't even get to do ship chasing because
I know,
StreamYard
man.
and YouTube. I think we might try to run back that idea though this week.
I put in too much work. I created a spreadsheet and then I got the ages of every head coach, their like weights where I could find it, their heights. And then I was like, I can either have this information as like an edge in this stupid game I just made up or share it so that the stream will be better. And I was like, the fact that that was even a question is a problem, but I did share it.
I even as a bone to toss ship chasing because we didn't have a show, I may or may not have posted a screenshot of part of your research in there so they could see.
Love it.
All right, I hopped us into a draft, and the gods have blessed us because we have an influencer 101 ready to go here. Off the rip in a best ball mania, Pat. I did not get a chance to do the sim version here this morning. I've been scrambling to get things done, but that you guys are in beta for that right now.
We're in beta for that. We might be able to switch you over here since we're on the turn.
Maybe after we make this pick.
Okay. Yeah, after we make this pick. Yeah.
101, grab a Jamar Chase share here.
Let's do it.
All right. Jamar Chase, come on down. All right. Yes, people love watching our tech support here. So you sent me a link.
It's part of the show at this point. Yeah, I'll do you one better since you're live. I'll send you the actual file.
Okay. You can hold my hand here.
So yes. What you want to do is just go up at the top right and remove the sidekick and then drag the file I just sent you on Discord onto the Firefox window after you uninstall the current extension.
Remove extension. It is removed and just like into this main
Firefox. just anywhere on the page, like the main page, not the not where the URL is.
Let's see. Is it XPI?
Yeah.
The name of the file. I'm dragging it on here.
You need to download it. Try downloading it first. You did?
Yeah. I did download it. Yeah. Is it something I need to unpack?
No. It should just work.
Let's see. Zach says drag it on, then click back into the Firefox browser. Let me see here.
I'm gonna remove it and see if it's working on mine.
All right. Let me get the draft.
It should create a pop-up in the top right where you then hit add.
Okay. I'll see if I can let's see. Oh, there we go. Yep. Okay. I got that.
All right.
All right. Now what do I do?
I think just refresh the page and it should be good.
Okay.
And you might need to hit the little wheel to get it to sync. Yeah.
Okay. And so let people know as we get this up, what is this going to be showing here?
So this is the version of the Sidekick that we have the beta up. If you're a Sidekick subscriber, check it out. It's easy to install, as you just saw. And it's got the Sims in it. So these recommendations are now driven by the Sims that Shady has run for the 2025 best ball season, and kind of change up some of the like structural recommendations in some interesting ways. In some cases, the recommendations feel like very in line with what we're used to, and in some cases a little less so. In particular with the start like Jamar Chase, if we, let's say, take a receiver in the second round, it's a little more into running backs in the middle rounds than like you and I would have kind of gravitated to on our own typically. But we know that running back prices are cheaper than really they've ever been outside of last year. And it's kind of potentially unlocking some additional paths that are also plus EV in addition to the wide receiver heavy stuff that we normally tend to gravitate to.
And as far as people experiencing the Sidekick, it is going to feel exactly the same as it was before. It's just the information is now powered with a different set of inputs.
That's right. That's right. The other thing is once we actually launch, this will allow us to support other formats like Eliminator, Marathon, Sprint, Weekly Winners, dial-in stuff for high stakes a little bit better. Just on the bottom of it, make sure it's set to sim, which I think it will be, but if you just look at the bottom of the extension.
Oh, this is...
You got a long one.
I do.
Yeah, so change the algo type from classic to sim.
Okay.
There you go.
Is that an inch? Can people toggle back and forth between those if they want to actually see what the difference is?
You can. You can toggle back and forth.
We're on the clock at the turn. McBride and Bucky came off, so we're at a pretty chalk spot here. T, Jacobs, Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison, Chase Brown. What have you like to do with this Chase draft?
I'd probably go T and Jacobs, but I'm open to... I've been taking a little more Garrett Wilson as well, so I'm open to that.
Let's take Jacobs here first and then talk about the decision. So if we take Higgins, are you okay letting Burrow go at the 4-5 turn? This is like the age-old debate these days.
Yeah. I am. I'm okay.
Okay. So do you want to do T and play for it?
Let's
and if
do
not, okay. We'll do T here. And thank you, everyone, congratulating me on the long one. There,
I was hoping the chat would be would get that.
Cat's watching me just scroll and scroll it up, and it just keeps going. Yeah, I've seen some of these people with their extensions, and I don't like to size shame, but they're just these little chodes, and I like keeping mine nice and long there. So yeah, and have you noticed any other things like with your builds? You mentioned doing a little bit more running back heavy. I guess, is it encouraging you into like any structures, like in structures that are different, like where it's like, holy cow, like it's telling me this is a 10 wide receiver team or a 3 running back team? Like, do you get any builds like that are pushing you to extremes?
It is interesting with the running backs. If you do kind of like a hyper fragile structure, it does tend to be like pretty much like what we would think. Sometimes you'll do like a 5th or 6th running back on a build where, like, let's say your first running back was in round 3, and then you take like a running back in like round 3, 5, 6, 7. You're like, I'm probably done, and it'll add. You're still seeing running backs at the end for like a 5th or 6th running back. But I do think it's cool. It'll be extreme in the sense that it'll be totally fine with 4 running backs in spots where we would expect it to be, which I find nice. But it's at quarterback where you're seeing quarterbacks recommended on teams where I'm like, I don't need a 3rd quarterback, but here's a 3rd quarterback being recommended, and it might even be an unstacked 3rd quarterback. You tend to see that dynamic really late. Like you might see like unstacked Geno Smith or later being recommended. And I think it's partly because of the time of year where there's like not that many late round picks that we have a ton of confidence in. Like a guy like Marshawn Lloyd, or like, he's exciting, but is he also a 0? There's lots of potential zeros back there. And
yeah, when
like Tyler Shuck is sitting there in the 18th round and it's like, he's going to play all year. There's there's actually, I think, some value in adding that. It's not super sexy, but that's one of the consistent recommendations.
All right. Do you think Pat froze there for a second on me? Here, we've started Jamar Chase, Jacobs, Higgins. Are you back, Pat? You just froze for a sec.
Yeah, my internet wouldn't support any Tyler Shucklove. I actually got a notification on that.
I think the thing that would be interesting, because I know there's an element for people who've used the Sidekick before, sometimes it, you kind of IKB things and be like, oh, it's telling me to grab, another running back here. But I'm looking at this room and like the wide receivers are flying. Like, I think I need to just grab this wide receiver, or kind of like gently IKBing it, for structural reasons. I guess my question would be, how do you know to balance like your kind of intuitive thing versus like, no, the sim actually knows something now that you don't, and you should be more open to it? Do you kind of see what I'm hinting at?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think factoring in what's happening in your room is still immensely valuable and like a really good reason to, IKB off of the top recommendation, or even off the top couple or whatever, just pick who you think the best player is for that situation. There's nothing about, like, we don't have any information about the room other than the players that are gone, the players on your team, and the players still available. So reading the room, using tactics around the turns and all that stuff, but also just understanding where runs are. Like if one player has like 4 quarterbacks, or if like you're in a room where just everyone's scooping wide receiver, I would definitely factor that in to the decisions. And then the other thing I would say is, like, what I think is cool about it is that it's showing builds that are viable that I wouldn't do without, like, the input of the Sidekick. But I don't think you like have to do those builds necessarily. Like, if you're just much more comfortable, because it is showing, like, I have builds. I did a build the other day where I basically just took the top recommendation the entire draft so that people could see like what it would look like. And one of them was like a super traditional build. I had like 5 wide receivers through 8, I want to say, 2 running backs in the first and third. So it's not that it's like you have to get weird, but I think it's helping identify unusual builds that are actually plus EV.
That makes sense. We're about to pick here at 4-5. We should be able to get, so Hampton Goes, who was our faller that we got last week, but like Cook Hunter is a pretty nice 4-5 turn here. Zay also popping up at the top here. What do you like?
I'm down for any of these 3 guys here.
I get very little Cook, so I'm happy to take Cook here at the turn, and then I'll let you pick which receiver you like.
It might be possible that Hurts jumps up. Okay, so Hunter jumps up. Yeah, so you can see, like, because new pick, we get a little bit of shuffling, and Hunter jumps up to the top. These guys are all super close. I think Hunter's the move, though.
Yeah, let's do Hunter. I passed on Hunter to grab a Jameson Williams share in the first draft, and I don't want rumors going out there that Peter is now out on Travis Hunter. So I gotta buy the dip here. So there was a question in the chat here from Brett. How do you compare the late round picks this year compared to other years at this time? Seems like there's more ambiguous situations than normal at this time. Do you feel similarly?
I don't remember. I'm honestly not remembering compared to June last year if I feel like there's more ambiguous situations, but there are a lot of ambiguous situations, and I think that changes things a bit compared to how we'll draft in August. Like in August, we'll just have a lot more information about some of these late round picks. And then some of them won't be in the late round. Some of them will move up, but because there's so much uncertainty in the final rounds, like some of these receivers that aren't the most exciting, but are solid enough picks, I think look better because they're a little bit more locked into jobs and stuff. But there's some, like, A.D. Mitchell's been fun. He's having a nice camp, and he's like one of the guys that we do take a lot of at receiver that actually has some upside. I hope we still get more Brashard Smith stuff. Like, there's some drum beats happening. Troy Franklin was getting a little bit of a drum beat. There's like, I'm enjoying the little taste of information that we got from minicamp.
Yeah, and I think One of the things that might be driving a perception of more ambiguity, I think, is an actual larger amount of ambiguity at the quarterback position. And obviously we just got Rodgers, so that cleans up some of that. The Browns are just complete mystery box right now. The Colts situation still very much up in the air. I don't think anyone has like a perfect read on how the Russell Wilson Dart thing's going to shake out, but I think having multiple ones like that in the Browns specifically, it just feels like more quarterback uncertainty than in years past. And we also in years past had Drake May, Bo Nix, like really cheap late round quarterbacks that you kind of felt good about. And that's just like not there this year.
I know. Yeah. It's last year it was like Bo Nix versus this year it's Tyler Shuck. And it's just not, those aren't comparable in terms of the excitement. No. They're really not. And then the Browns don't have a draftable quarterback, which is crazy. You know, they just don't like, I'm not touching anyone there.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
You know, Cam Ward, Mad Sox mentions Cam Ward is the sleeper. And I will say he's slowly gotten cheaper. Like I feel like for a while I was clicking him at like 150s and now you can get him at like 165. So I do think he's starting to qualify for that. And it's not saying there isn't. Like, I think we all like Geno at his price well. But I mean, like guys, those rookies like Drake May and Bo Nix were like legit free in pretty much any draft you wanted them last year. And then there's a trickle down where when you don't know who the quarterback is, it makes some of the other spots less intriguing. Like if we knew for a fact who the quarterback was on the Browns, like couldn't you see Cedric Tillman going a little bit higher, even like Dylan Sampson going a little higher, where there's just overall uncertainty on the offense?
No, I agree. I mean, Tillman's pretty locked in as a starter. They like they really don't have any depth behind Judy, but Tillman seems to be clearly the outside wide receiver there. So if we had, I mean, even if you just knew it was Flacco, I think Tillman would go, you know, decently higher, maybe a round higher.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's such a weird one too, because at least with like the Jackson Dart, Russell Wilson, it's kind of a classic dynamic of like Russ is going to be the starter. Dart's going to take over eventually. It matters when. Whereas with the Browns, it's like whatever your flavor is, it's like, oh, you want the early season vet? Well, good luck. Is it Flacco or is it Pickett? Oh, you want the late season rookie upside? Well, is it Sanders or is it Gabriel? It's just like a complete clusterfuck.
It really is. I mean, they're going to play all of these guys probably. I would say one of the veterans and both of the rookies, I think, will get run.
Yeah.
And it's possible we see all four.
This would be an epic Burrow snipe here. If W. Keir wants to protect the integrity of, okay, we pulled it off.
Yes, Pat. Dude.
No, there's no heroes, no vigilantes blowing up our Burrow stack.
Wow.
That's
right. Sick.
There we go. So I'll put Burrow in the queue. We'll stack him up with Jamar and T. Higgins. And then no other huge ADP values. Montgomery, Myers, Laporta, Caleb Johnson, Jaden Reed. Let's see. What do you want to do here? We'll see what the sidekick refreshes after we take Burrow. It likes Jaden Reed with Jacobs. I like Reed too. So that's
Reed's fun. Let's do that.
All right. So there we go. So we got that clean double stack with Cincy. We got Jacobs in Reed, and then we have a one-off James Cook ADP value and a one-off Travis Hunter ADP value. Pretty strong there through 7 rounds.
Yeah, and this is like what I talk about with, this is like a very traditional kind of hit your check marks in terms of wide receiver depth and stuff type of build. But you could have, there gone like Pollard or Montgomery, which I normally wouldn't have done, but you see like that was very close. They were ahead of Reed flips. There's just, there's different sampling of the Sims. So you're not going to see like, in every spot, not every person would see the same ordering, and those guys are all viable. But I don't go the running back there typically,
Right. Have you guys ever?
I think it's more viable than I was assuming.
One thing that would be cool, and I'm thinking of just like how I use it, and it's probably like too hard to do like aesthetically and whatever, but like if you could have almost like an annotated comment on like the pick of like which input is driving it. Cause sometimes you're like, oh, is this just trying to randomize like my exposures like in this range and mix it up? Or is this trying to push me toward a more viable build that I didn't like consider, you know? Or is it saying like, hey, this is just projections and ranking value? Like knowing what is driving it would be pretty cool.
Well, what's driving it, and this is one of the big advantages of going to the Sims, is that, you know, with the classic algorithm, we did have some randomness built in, and it was based on kind of the tiers that we have of the rankings, and then it's kind of shuffling with like it's shuffling picks like within that group of players a bit, just so that it's not recommending a guy we like 50.1% over the guy we like 49.9% every single time. It's flipping those guys. But here, what that variation is being created because you're just seeing a slightly different sample of the simulated seasons. And so the reason that he's popping is because like this dude crushed, you know, this guy, you want him. Like he had a good season. And he also potentially like the weeks that he went off, like pair well with, you know, bye weeks of other players on your team, that type of thing. He's providing late season upside on a team that needs it, or he's helping advance rate on a team that already has some late season upside, whatever it is. But the production is actually pairing nicely with the guys that you have and is strong. Would be the answer in pretty much every case. It's just like sort of a mix of like which seasons you saw that slightly changed that up. And then also things like, you know, the correlation and all that stuff does factor in. But that'll kind of factor in at the same level.
Gotcha. I mean, we've kind of been hitting on these, and you've mentioned a few, but JGFC just kind of reemphasizing any other structural leanings so far from the Sims research. It sounds like more early running backs, more late 3 QBs. Anything else?
More early running backs is true, but typically like if you have like a wide receiver start, or if you have 3x wide receiver start, then what we're seeing is like you can kind of get away with building, or if a first round, sometimes in the case where you just have a first round receiver and you might only have one receiver through like 4 or 5 rounds, but typically that'd be on a build with an elite quarterback and an elite tight end. So it's not like just like ripping 4 straight running backs after one receiver. I don't know that I've seen that. So it's more early running back if you have invested at the receiver. If you were to start running back, you would see like a lot of receivers and probably like real depth at the position in most cases after that. So it's doing some, I think one of the big lessons, it really seems to be like, if you give me Nico Collins and Brian Thomas, I'm stoked. Like the receiver's not going to be weak in a way that like I would still be like, I don't want to fall behind at receiver. And, you know, the difference with this year is that like Nico Collins and Brian Thomas aren't like, you know, the typical receiver you might get at like 11 and 13. So you actually are like taking advantage of that opportunity, taking advantage of that advantage at receiver a little bit more thoroughly.
All right, we are on the clock. 1240. I don't see anything we need to do with quarterback here. Trey Harris actually jumping Higgins in this. It also likes ETN and Scatabo. What do you think here?
Harris is cool.
Why do you think do you think this is a randomization thing too? Like, because I actually find myself in this spot a lot, and I would probably just take Higgins as the ADP guy, which means I'm probably getting less Harris than I should. Do you think that's maybe what's occurring there?
Yeah, I think it's probably just sort of a mix-up in a good way.
Yeah.
Kelsey and ETN. Scatabo would maybe be a guy I would IKB to here just for fun.
Yeah.
But any of these dudes look good.
Let's do the ETN with the with Hunter.
With Hunter? Yeah, that is cool.
So then we have Hunter and ETN and Jacobs and Reed, and then gives us 2 cracks at picking one of those quarterbacks. And the other thing I note, like in my first room, we had a huge debate about Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews went at pick 126 in my first room. Damn. The tight ends have just been plummeting. So passing on the tight end there and just seeing if we can get some extreme values, I think might make some sense. Yeah, the other, what was the other thing I was going to say about that conversation on the structural stuff? Oh yeah, I think the last point about it is, because I think most people using the Sidekick and most people who have done a ton of drafts, we all kind of intuitively know how to build like optimal constructions. Like you can just feel it. Like I need a little wide receiver here. I'm a little weak here. Like, you know, I think everyone's pretty good at that. And so the interesting thing to me is like knowing when to get out of your comfort zone in a smart way, where it's like reminding you this feels a little weird or feels a little funky, but it's actually good and probably unique because most other drafters would feel this way and deviate from this too. And so that's like being able to distinguish those two things while drafting, I think is important.
I think honestly, the biggest thing, like the simple framework that would make you draft like kind of more like what the Sims or 10-day recommend is if you're just like, this guy's going to score more points than this guy. Like this dude is the better pick to score points this year. So not like just projectable volume, but like actually like, I think this player will outscore this player this season. And, you know, it's at the position I don't like need as much. But picking like the worst player for the sake of staying in structure is not great. Because what it is like you kind of already are out of structure in a sense. Like you're set up to be thin at that position. And now you're not going to like save it by chasing worse bets at the position you're weak at. You might as well just like lean into the position of strength and like load up and, you know, have like one of the things you'll see sometimes if you're just like kind of sticking to the top recommendations, you'll see like 6 like sick running backs. And, you know, maybe the first one is in round 3, but you're just like, you're loaded up at running back and you're going to win the flex at running back, which is not normally how we play it. But with the prices being as different as they are, I think it's a viable option. Not like that's the only way by any means, but that's one spot where the room's just handing you points. And that includes guys like Travion Henderson and RJ Harvey. You know, it includes exciting upside bets at the position, not just like, oh, this dude's going to get all the touches in week 1 and never fall off. It's an interesting year where we actually have legitimate upside bets like Quinshon Judkins and Caleb Johnson in the 7th, where you can build out these rooms that are really built to score points all season at running back at pretty cheap prices. And if you pair that with like a couple really strong receivers up top, and then your receiver depth looks like concerningly weak, you're like, well, yeah, but my wide receiver 3 spot's going to be a bit of a weakness, and I'm going to hammer people in the flex, and my top 2 wide receivers are sick, and I'll be good.
It's exactly what I did in my first draft. I had a Derrick Henry Bijan start, and I ended up selecting Travion Henderson, and I just sat out wide receiver after getting 4 early. I didn't get my 5th one until like Romeo Dobbs at 150, where it was just like, and I was like, I'm not taking Quentin Johnston ahead of Tajay Spears at pick 130 just because I need a wide receiver. Like I'm going to continue to take the bet, but it's hard. I think for all of us, it's uncomfortable because you're like, fuck, I need wide receiver. But,
you
got to sit back and chill.
It genuinely is uncomfortable.
So it looks like we could have our choice here of Love or Herbert. The Sidekick definitely throwing up a quarterback at us. And then, you know, it's a little, I mean, we do have ETN, so the Tootin thing is a little less interesting. How do you think we play this?
I think Love, because we have Jacobs and Reed.
Well, we also have ETN and Hunter. So it's kind of the same for Lawrence.
For Lawrence. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I like Love.
Yeah, I tend to prefer Love to Lawrence.
Oh, we have the double buy there. No. The buy is good. It's Jordan Love is 5, so that works. So let's take Love and then see what we want to do with a 2-3-5-0 here. Interesting. What do you think about the double?
I like it.
Okay.
I like it here. I mean, it's like we lock up the Jags backfield as your RB3 on a Jacobs Cook team. That seems good to me.
Yes. Yeah, I think so too. And especially if you're not going to go the quarterback route, I think it's a little more problematic if you go Lawrence and Tootin there, because then you're starting to ask a lot of this
Mhm.
offense where now you're saying
Mhm.
like in the money weeks, we want it rolling through the running game primarily for
Yeah.
this. And yes, I knew this comment was coming. What if Bigsby is the guy? Yes, but this team, like every other fucking team we're going to draft, is dead.
If Bigsby's the guy, it's not going to be my favorite year. That will be there's other paths, but that's definitely knowing Bigsby's the guy. Well, I'll be like, oh, this is a bad sign for 2025.
Yes. So here's the team so far. Burrow and Love both stacked up. Burrow with Chase and Higgins, Love with Jacobs and Reed. We also have James Cook, and then both Jags backs, ETN and Tootin. I think that's the first time I've done the ETN and Tootin pairing. Generally kind of hard to do when they go around the similar range, but because we were encouraged to take ETN early, we had like a 30-pick gap between those two almost. And then we grabbed Hunter, obviously, as part of that. Trey Harris was the rookie we grabbed there as our wide receiver 5, and then still tight end list. But my instincts kind of correct here. I guess the tight end ADPs have been relatively in line this draft. Kelsey 105, Andrews 108. Jonnu has been the one sliding. So yeah, we'll have to get a 3 tight end late build, but I think we're in good shape.
Yeah, we'll be okay at tight end. I love the elites, but you can get like sitting out the middle rounds a bit. I mean, although Kelsey would have been fine, but you can very easily, very comfortably push tight end until like round 13, 14, 15. I tend to like to get it done before the very end, but there's lots of guys.
One other nice thing about this team is it obviously makes sense for Gesicki, who's normally like a late round tight end. That's maybe not a primary target, but on a Burrow team becomes one.
Totally.
And yeah, Kraft is always, I think we probably would have, Kraft goes at 130. So we would have had to have taken him with Love there. But letting Kraft go here doesn't bother me.
Me neither. I think Tootin is a lot more fun there.
Yeah. And again, the story you tell yourself, and again, it's not going to be, 2023 Dolphins, but the hope is you get an HN Mostert light kind of return where both those guys pay off their ADP because just the offensive pie is so big and it's condensed.
Yep.
So we'll see what comes back to us here at the 12-13 turn. This would probably be one of those spots too, where it's like, if you had a really cheap quarterback come back that you would maybe consider.
If Trevor was here, I think, we would definitely consider it.
Tight end has definitely gotten a little wiped here. Pitts, Strange, Freiermuth, the next 3, we could continue to push here and prioritize the running backs, which is what the Sidekick is suggesting as well. Kirk is the big ADP faller at wide receiver, 20 picks past ADP, but he's not getting suggested.
We could do like a Kirk Stroud. You see Stroud is recommended, and obviously in combination, those guys would be good. But I like Dobbins here.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a good price on Dobbins, and I think he's going to rise. And as a running back 5 on this team, it's like our running back now looks pretty strong. We didn't have to pay for running back very much, which is always cool.
Yeah. It's interesting that it continues to suggest running backs for us. And even Palmer over Kirk. I guess that's the teammate thing with Trey Harris.
Yeah.
Or not with Trey Harris, with Cook. What do you think?
Yeah. I don't know that we need Eckler with the. I'd be fine if you want an IKB here to Kirk, or just go Palmer and get the other wide receiver. Just play the ADP game.
I just put Kirk in at the last second there, just because it was such, like, to me, I guess like Kirk and Palmer, I could see the argument for being pretty similar. But the Kirk 20 pick ADP value there seemed like enough to take that flyer.
I'm with you. It's fine. Like, scooping that makes sense to me.
Especially too, like, you think about, obviously we're putting a lot on the Bengals. We need that to hit. But then we do have 2 rookies, Travis Hunter, Trey Harris. Could be a little slower production-wise at the start. A guy like Christian Kirk, who the whole appeal is the fast start, going to be on the field a ton. I think that pairs well.
Good says the sidekick has an Eckler bug. Eckler does jump up. I think he's like, I guess the way I think about it is when I have ETN and Tootin, I'm like a little bit more like, all right, that's taken care. Like, I have a backfield. I'm betting against Bigsby, so I'm willing to just be like, Bigsby's not going to be it, and so I'm a little less inclined to take the Eckler points. But basically, Eckler looks like a little underpriced relative to what we can probably expect early in the season, especially.
Yeah, I mean, I think I forget who mentioned the stat to me recently, but Eckler and Brian Robinson had almost identical points per game, I think, down the stretch last year, or even overlapping with the playoffs. And the Eckler thing is fun because not only are you just getting the classic contingent upside that you get with any number 2 back, but you're also getting more of a standalone role than you are for other bets going in this range.
Yep.
And I think, you look at like even Eckler compared to Rachaad White, and I take Rachaad White a lot, but Bucky is a far bigger impediment than, Brian Robinson is to Eckler. So I think he's a strong pick there for sure. I wanted to talk about Dobbins a little bit more because I do think he's undervalued. I think, again, using that same prism of just thinking about him as a contingent back, he deserves to be going in this range. But like with Sean Payton tomfoolery, like there's room that he's splitting touches early on. They continue to talk about RJ Harvey not being quite ready for pass protection. A lot of the reports on the Dobbins signing where they want a trusted guy in there on third downs. What do you think his true value should be? How much do you think he could run?
Well, I think one way to think about Dobbins is, what if like Javonte Williams wasn't completely washed and was behind a better offensive line, and then like RJ Harvey becomes kind of the Miles Sanders / Jaden Blue, or just like a much, much, much more exciting version of Jaden Blue who can actually run on early downs and take up like kind of that Miles Sanders role. And so I'm still very into Harvey, but Dobbins is, I think could kind of be like a ninth, like the ETN, where we took ETN would be like a perfectly fine place to take Dobbins, I think, roughly. Maybe that's a little too high, but he's got room to run from where we got him for sure.
We're on the clock, 2560. Pitts is a pretty big slider here. We could also pull up Gesicki if we just want to lock up that triple stack. Hunter Henry went 1 pick before us. What do you think?
Pitts and Gesicki would be fun here. We get the slider and then we just lock up the stack. Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing else we really need to do here. Nothing jumping out wide receiver wise, no sliding quarterbacks. The running backs got kind of wiped. So I think double tight end here makes sense.
Yeah, let's double tight end and we IKB to the correlated bet, which I think is fine.
Yeah.
But tight end is clearly the pick.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now we grab our 2 tight ends. So we got the 2 quarterbacks, the 5 wide receiver, or 5 running backs, 6 wide receivers, and then we grab Kyle Pitts and Mike Gesicki there. This was another good question. Matt wants to know, were there any takeaways from the Sims regarding bye weeks? That's always a big hot topic. Can you survive, 2 buys from the onesie position, stuff like that?
I mean, I think part of this stuff with quarterbacks is probably related to the bye weeks. And so like covering the bye weeks and giving yourself multiple outs during a bye week because we're seeing the quarterbacks recommended late as quarterback 3s, even on elite quarterback teams. And that probably factors in to a degree there. I would also say that the cool thing about the bye weeks now is that we can do stuff like if you had a bunch of, with the old sidekick algo, if you just took like every wide receiver with a week 14 bye, it wasn't going to be like, don't do any more week 4, because it's like there's only so many things you can. So we had a bye week penalty in for the quarterbacks, and a little bit tight ends, but the non-onesie positions, it was kind of, it was like a little bit tricky to do well manually. And so this, because we actually have the weeks that everyone's scoring points, it'll just do a better job of helping you avoid like a bye week catastrophe at running back or receiver.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like if you are getting pushed to more 3 quarterback teams anyways, that bye week dynamic is going to be pretty offset.
Yeah.
Ooh, look who it is. Hi, Vivian.
You gonna wave?
How we doing?
No.
Say hi to the slappies. Oh, she's waving to the slappies.
Wave to Slappy Nation, Vivian. How are you doing?
You wave?
You having fun at the beach?
Yeah, she's having fun. She's met like my brothers and sisters and stuff. She had seen at Christmas, but she hadn't seen everyone since. So, and they all have kids, and yeah, it was a lot of fun last night.
That's awesome. She's getting so big.
Yeah.
What do you recommend here, Viv?
What are you thinking? What do you think about us
Third tight end?
triple stack Burrow? Yeah, we pushed him and still got him.
She yearns to podcast. It'd be funny if she saw the Kyle Pitts pick and then just vomited.
She's unimpressed. She's unimpressed with the Burrow stack.
Yeah, you're yawning.
Show her the Pitts pick.
Yeah. Yeah, this is like April's new favorite thing is she just likes going and playing in my car. I think I mentioned this on a stream. And so I just come in and my hazards are on, like all of the stuff is like been moved around. She's sending the garage door opener up and down. Luckily, I keep my standing desk up because what she would do to the mic, what Vivian's doing now would be pretty disastrous. Is that Pat's kid? No, just a random little girl that wandered into the stream, I think. You are muted now. Vivian muted you.
Yeah, it's just a baby that was here at the house. They asked us to take care of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Happy Father's Day. What your second father? Is this your second Father's Day, right?
Second Father's Day.
Yeah.
You gotta stop muting me. I guess having a light here is not ideal for what happened.
No, sorry. I just accidentally closed off the draft board, but we're good. We are about to pick here at the turn, at the 16-17 turn. So we're at a 2-5-6-2. We know we're going to probably do a third tight end. And then I think definitely a seventh wide receiver, but got some flexibility otherwise. Any of these tight ends, Schultz, Sanders, Mason Taylor went one pick before us.
I think we probably grab Sanders and get that taken care of.
Yep.
That would be my preference, I think, over Schultz.
What do you think about the Keenan stuff? Do you think he can make like a Dobbins-esque push when he signs eventually?
We've been pretty cautious on Keenan because I'm just like he looked not great and he hasn't signed yet. So I just am not messing with it. But I'd be okay if you want to do it. It's kind of a what do you win when you win sort of thing.
Coker could be paired with Sanders if you want to do like a cheap late stack.
Let's do Coker.
Okay.
Coker's fun.
Yeah, we'll grab Coker here. I do like him a lot still. He can be our seventh wide receiver, and then we can kind of just go luxury at the end. So, yeah, 2-5-7-3, Burrow and Love at quarterback. Good there. Jacobs, James Cook, both Jags backs, Etienne and Tootin. J.K. Dobbins are fifth. 7 wide receivers, Chase Higgins, Hunter, Jaden Reed, Trey Harris, Christian Kirk, Jalen Coker, and then 3 tight ends, Pitts, Gesicki, and Sanders. Do you have probably a running back, do you think, for the 6th?
I think we could probably luxury. And speaking of luxury, you see Anthony Richardson sitting at the top. That's one of the things with the Sims. It's like they're like, why doesn't quarterback qualify? Is like you're hoping a dude has a random spike week.
Yeah.
Richardson's tricky because he could literally not play, but the shoulder second opinion was good. He's not going to need surgery. Even if he doesn't start the season, he might play a decent chunk of it. And you're like betting on, one spike week within a season easily pays off that ADP. So that's where it's like, it does feel a little weird, but it's the same as all the other positions where you're just like, well, if this dude spikes that one time, I win.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And that's a good point too, of like, there are obviously picks at the end where you need to add depth at a specific position because you're just lacking quality. But if you are finding yourself in that super flat tier, that banking the obvious points if they're there at quarterback, to me, that definitely makes sense, especially when even like the exciting, a lot of the running backs that I would consider here, a Dylan Sampson and Brashard Smith, like they're not going to make it back to us at pick 216.
Right. The other day I took Miles Sanders at the very last pick of the draft, and I was like, why are you making me do this? Why can't I just fade this guy?
Apparently,
I have to take him.
Our impassioned Miles Sanders case from last week did not influence the market at all.
I think we could change this to the Miles Sanders Best Ball Breakfast presented by Miles Sanders. I don't think it would move the needle. It's just such a gross pick.
Even Levitan tweeted out, I think it was some quote about how Miles Sanders has been, I think, splitting reps with Javonte with the ones was the quote I saw, and basically just saying like the gap between Javonte and Sanders in ADP doesn't really make sense. And I do think Jaden Blue kind of is separate from that conversation, just as like the mystery box kind of thing. But if you are just comparing Javonte to Sanders, it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, and it could be the case that the answer is no one. And the way I think that plays out is that it's a split. They use Hunter Lipke. They use Kavonte Turpin. Blue gets mixed in too. And it's just like one of these backfields are just like, I just don't care. Like, there's no right answers here. But at least with Sanders, you're finding that out with like a 16th to 18th round pick. The Javonte one, it's like I think he's washed, and injury related is why he's washed, but it's not looking good.
127 is expensive too. Like there's legit opportunity cost at 127.
That's why I'm just like, why would I take Javonte when I can get Dobbins? Better player at this point, better offensive line, like tougher competition, sure, but there's a history of a guy using multiple backs there.
Why did the Cowboys just sign Dobbins, and then we could have all been clicking Dobbins at like pick 75?
I know.
Someone also mentioned, I think it was Sus Edwards in the chat, said Miles Sanders and Raheem Mostert back on the menu. That was the other kind of big coach speak thing, or it was Raheem Mostert speak as well. Mostert was like, me and Ashton Genty, we're like the same out there, man. Like we do so many other similar things. But you continue to get the quotes from Carroll, like we're going to use two backs, like we're going to, lean on our guys. I guess like Mostert, like purely as like a contingent upside, if Genty were to get hurt, which like none of us, I feel like no one's even talked about that. Like who is the RB2, for the Raiders? I mean, Mostert probably should be on the menu more, right?
I think he's on the menu. It's tough because he went on to talk about how Zamir White has had a really good offseason, and they like what they're seeing out of Sincere McCormick. And Mostert's so old that it's like tough to. What I worry about with him is that you do have the handcuff until about like week 9, and then you don't. And it's like, with the contingent plays, I want to definitely have it be the correct guy in the money weeks. But he could be the guy because he looks like he's the guy right now. So I think he's on the menu. Not someone I'm as excited about as like a Sanders, even though Mostert probably has more left in the tank because Sanders is going against Javonte Williams. Anthony Richardson goes
to a 4 quarterback build from Bobby Ray-Bans. Did the Bryce Young, Darnold, Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson build.
A true punt.
We're on the clock. It's thrown up Troy Franklin, who I drafted last draft. Taj Brooks is like the backup running back. I
think both of those are pretty fun picks. I'm totally down with either.
Let's do Taj. All
right.
I think Franklin makes sense. I just drafted him, but let's do. I haven't clicked Brooks much, and this is such a huge Bengals bet. Seems fun.
I think it's fun. He seems to be already ahead of Zach Moss. P. Ryan is in kind of this, the P. Ryan role. But I like that the rookie with not a ton of draft capital does appear to be ahead of Moss. That's a really good sign.
It is, because if you clear that up, then you are obviously, if Brown got hurt, it's pretty obvious like Perrine would get an expanded role and play third downs. But if Brooks would be getting those carries, like that makes him a very viable 18th round click. Whereas before, if Moss is ahead of him, then it's like you're kind of playing with fire.
Yeah, and Brooks is interesting because he was like a really productive back, and it was just like, well, he's not fast enough. He's just like too slow. He's not going to be an NFL player. But then I think he had like 4.53. So I'm like, oh, okay. And it didn't have much draft capital, but then immediately looks to at least be ahead of Zach Moss. So I think he could be, as a contingent bet, he could be pretty interesting where he comes in and it's kind of like Sean Tucker. Like he could kind of be like the Sean Tucker, but in a world where there's no Bucky Irving, you know, or no Rashad White, maybe, if you want to be nicer to Chase Brown and say he's Bucky Irving. So, but it's like, yeah, he's not going to be like ultra explosive or anything, but he's got like a little bit of juice and has size and can kind of be consistently hitting the hole.
Joey says, are beats saying he's above Moss? There was the quote where they didn't even mention Zach Moss. They were listing off the running back room and they mentioned Chase Brown, Perrine, and Taj Brooks. Like Moss wasn't even mentioned. So it seems pretty good, I think in that regard.
Yeah, there's some coach speak where they were like, basically like, it's kind of like we got Chase, then we got Samaje Perine, and we got Taj Brooks, and then we'll kind of figure it out like after that. You know, there's some dudes, and we'll see how it goes. Oh wait, I just found it. So this is from Coach Speak
I found
Index.
it too. Yeah, read it.
Okay. On how pitcher sees the rest of the running back room behind Chase Brown. I love having Samaje Perine back in the fold. He's really smart, pro, tough. Every superlative I could give to Samaje. Coaches are going to love the dude. He meshes well with Chase. Taj Brooks has been excellent. He's a rookie. He's going to do some rookie stuff, but really happy with him. And then after those guys, it'll kind of shake out. We'll see with Zach Moss and the other young guys, and we'll just kind of go from there.
Okay, so yeah, Zach Moss did get mentioned, but more as an afterthought there. It's definitely one to continue to monitor, especially because the Bengals have kind of slow played their rookie running backs historically. They've been a little less willing to thrust those guys in. You know, it took Chase Brown a while to kind of get the nod there. So yeah, I think it's but in that, at pick 216 there, I mean, we really are looking at pretty limited options. When we go in here, we can see best available. There's Schultz, like if you wanted to do the 4 tight end, this might have been a suggestion too, where it's like, oh, the Sims, when you go super late tight end, that a 4 tight end build would have been viable in that.
Totally.
Yeah.
And Schultz goes undrafted. Yeah. So I think we had a number of different ways to play that. But, you know, like Troy Franklin, who I like, is not especially high upside. You know, it's like, hey, he could be their Devery Henderson or something. So you really are kind of playing for a spike week with him. And then, you know, Brooks, while he's not going to like take a job, it is a reasonably high upside contingent bet in the context of also having a huge bet on the Bengals. So the Bengals are rolling. And then it's like Moss gets injured for a few weeks or, you know, whatever. And you have their early down running back for free.
Yeah. Yep. Let me read off the final team here because I don't believe we did a full proper recap, and we'll get your thoughts. At 2-6-7-3, Burrow and Love. At quarterback, Jacobs, James Cook, Travis Etienne, Tootin, J.K. Dobbins, and Taj Brooks for the 6 running backs. 7 wide receivers, 5 early there, Chase, Higgins, Hunter, Reed, Trey Harris. And then we add on Christian Kirk, Jalen Coker. And then we got funneled to a super late tight end build. Our first one at pick 168 went Pitts, Gesicki, Jatavian Sanders. How do you feel like this one shook out?
It's fun. I like the Sanders Coker move. That was cool. I like the Love with Reed and Jacobs, in addition to the gigantic Bengal stack. That feels very fun. So yeah, I mean, anytime you're going to get Burrow double stacked and you push it, you're going to like the team.
Yep. We didn't have any really natural opportunities to get an Arizona bring back for the Cincy stuff. And we also didn't get any Baltimore. So our week 17 bona fides a little bit lacking here. But the overall structure in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I guess we have a Chargers Texans mini correlation with Harris and Kirk. But yeah, not a ton of like bring back correlation, but Bengals mega stacked and a nice double with Love with the running back wide receiver.
And that was why I think the Sidekick was suggesting Richardson, just because we had that big Jacksonville bet without the quarterback. So playing like an A-Rich week 17 opposite that would have made a decent amount of sense.
Yeah, Richardson was being recommended functionally as a bring back. He's a quarterback bring back, which is weird, but I mean, it makes a lot of sense given his ability to kind of spike randomly.
Yeah. And I think that's the other thing too. And I assume the Sims are accounting for it. That's always the age old question of like, how much is the correlation boost? And like, based on what we were seeing with like Tootin paired with ETN, or even the Josh Palmer suggestion that we now waived him with Cook, that those team level correlations are going to be the ones that I think you notice the boost on more. Like you're rarely seeing a week 17 Oppo getting boosted 15, 20 picks just because of the week 17 correlation, at least from what I've noticed.
No, I think that's right. And it's because you get the season long correlation factoring in with, the team level bet. And then you also have, week 15 and 16 that you get with the team level correlation. So the week 17 correlation has value, but it's a little bit, it's just for that 1 week with the team level stuff, you get it the whole season and then the other weeks as well. But the Richardson, I was kind of hoping Richardson would come back to us because he would at 18-12 as a spike week bring back quarterback on stuff where we had a bunch of Jacksonville pieces would have been fun.
What do you think? I am kind of intrigued, and I've started to do a couple 4 tight end builds in like the Schnauzers and stuff when I've been in this almost identical spot here that we were, where first tight end isn't coming until round 14. What do you think about the 4 quarterback build here? Because I kind of don't hate it. Bryce Young, Darnold, and then goes Jones, Richardson, the last 2, because even Young, Darnold, Daniel Jones feels a little light. Locking that up. I mean, we talked about it a little bit, like, yes, Best Ball Mania, you'd like to use that last pick on another dart, but it's based on draft capital. It's not crazy.
It's not crazy. And we are seeing a little bit of that, like, and especially with a build like this, where, 4 quarterbacks can make sense. And here, I mean, just logically, you're like, I have Colts quarterback as my quarterback 3. Both guys are probably going to score pretty well when they're in the lineup. And I kind of need upside with Bryce Young and Sam Darnold on a run first team now. So yeah, I could totally see this working. I'm annoyed because I wanted Richardson as the bring back, as I said, but yeah.
Yeah, don't do this when we can get Anthony Richardson with the last pick. But
come on, man.
On your own free time, feel free. So you for leg up subs right now, this is in beta, but there's a link in the Discord if people want to test it.
Yeah, if you're a Sidekick sub, hop in the Discord. If you want to become a Sidekick sub, check it out, legendaryupside.com/sidekick. Hop in the Discord, and there's a link there. You download a file, drop it into Firefox, as you saw Pete do, and you can test out the beta. We're recommending people not multi-table with it right now. That's kind of it's sort of a stress test, so we can figure out like what we need and everything. So that's the one, like that's the reason it's in beta. But as far as like what you're seeing, it's what you're gonna see when we go live, and hopefully that'll be pretty soon with additional functionality for other formats and more dialed in recommendations depending on the tournament structure.
Awesome. Otherwise, this week, Pat will be with Davis, Jacob, and Mike tomorrow for ADP chasing. We weren't able to do ship chasing last week because of the whole YouTube outage and StreamYard issues. So we're going to be back on the air at 3 p.m. And I should also mention the ship chasing crew. We're going to be hopping in our first high stakes main event draft, season long draft early this week. And if you guys are members to the channel over on Ship Chasing, we release those as mini-sodes where we kind of all huddle when we're on the clock, talk through our decision making for our first season long high stakes draft of the year. Always kind of a fun time getting our footing on that landscape and building a team over there where the ADPs are very different and the strategy also very different with how you approach those. So you guys can keep an eye out for that over on Ship Chasing. Anything else for you at Leg Up this week, Pat?
Matt Irby has an article that I'm going to try to get up tomorrow morning. And we'll be, rolling out rankings updates as we go throughout the week. And if you're, as I mentioned, if you're interested in checking out the Sidekick, you can get the beta over in the Discord. The legendaryupside.com/perks is where you get the Discord access if you're not in there already as a subscriber.
All right, beautiful. We're going to let you go, Pat. We will see you next Monday. And I will not forget this time to play Mike Leone's entrance. It is time for the man himself. Let's do it.
Paul Pezlesny.
You're a psychopath.
Travis Kelce. Alpha play. Jamar. Alpha play chase.
Give me rookies or give me death.
To the show, Michael Leone, fresh off of the ETR retreat. I saw a few photos percolating on X. How was the time with the ETR crew in Denver?
It was good. We had a good time. Got on a good hike. Hung out. Me and the nerds played this same board game for 6 hours. So if you're ever wondering what an ETR get together is like, that gives you some insight. And then I jumped straight to Punta Cana for my sister's 40th birthday. Got back in late last night.
Wow, man, you are a globetrotter. So now I'm envisioning the scene. So it was truly like a men versus machines. The machines all played board games while the men were out drinking beers around a fire or something.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. I was there so we go up to Breckenridge for the actual retreat. I missed that part because I was going to Punta Cana. So I got there in the weekend before, but yeah, that's somewhat accurate. I got in early with some of the guys on the data side team, and then Alex and Sean who do the college sports, and we all had an Airbnb together, and yeah, it was very much a machine household there.
Love it. Well, that sounds like a great time, and we missed you last week. Shout out to Sean who filled in for you, and you did avoid a massive StreamYard outage, YouTube outage during that time where the stream literally splintered and Sean and I were in different rooms and couldn't see each other, and I couldn't figure out how to get back and merge our streams. It felt like a sci-fi episode, and I just had to kill the stream and start a new one. So you got to avoid all of that.
Yeah, what was showing on YouTube?
On YouTube,
you know?
it was showing just Sean for a second, and then it was just blank. It was just showing the draft board or whatever. So yes, that was not fun. But we are, knock on wood, so far so good today. Leone, have we had a ton of late slots when we draft?
Yeah, we're this 10 spot every time.
Yeah, we got the 11 spot here again. The Influencer 101s came for me and Pat. I do have
I was joking that you and Pat, every time I hop on, you guys are talking about double dipping the Colts quarterbacks. And
we didn't do it. Someone else took 4 quarterbacks, including both the Colts quarterbacks.
I have to come clean though. I was in a slow draft where I took A-Rich stacked before the shoulder news.
Yeah.
And then in the late 18th, Danny Dimes was there, and I was like,
right as you saw the news.
I'm going to do it right after I'd seen the news. So I do have one team that doubled up on the Colts quarterbacks.
There you go. As always, do as Michael says, not as he does. Have you been drafting any teams on your travels, or are you coming into this with a fresh set of eyes?
Fresh set of eyes. I finished off, I like 15 slows going on between the sprint and BBM that I had finished off pretty much as I was in Denver. I didn't want to start a bunch before vacation, knowing that timeout probability at the all-inclusive resort was quite high.
Yes.
So this is fresh. I know it's always weird when you take like a week or two off, and sometimes things feel very different.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of. So obviously, you have the RJ Harvey, J.K. Dobbins, a little bit of shakeup there, impacting things. One thing I was noticing in my first room, some of the tight ends continue to fall. Mark Andrews went at pick 126 in my first draft this morning. Quarterbacks continue to kind of chill out, but yeah, nothing too seismic here in this middle portion of June.
Yeah.
I did get the big dog at like pick 20 in my first draft this morning as well. So you'll be happy to know that.
Nice. I'm excited to see you guys do the I'd go Amon-Ra here. We're high on Amon-Ra. We did a Genty team already.
Yep. We'll grab Amon-Ra at 11. What did you say you're excited for?
To see your guys' high stakes FFPC draft.
Oh yeah.
Okay, let's think here.
Derrick Henry, AJ Brown, Drake London.
What kind of room do you think we're in here?
This room, yeah, this is the friends and family again.
I think I'd go AJ Brown if we're in friends and family.
Yeah, let's do it here.
We've done I feel like more so RB earlier teams too, so I don't mind breaking the ties and switching it up. For the FFPC thing, I was thinking last year when I was in those, I did a couple of the 350s early, and I just don't have the waiver wires in it for me. I had someone grinding them for me, but if you were willing to put in the waiver wire work, like those are amazing to draft early because you get like all the reward of getting, unique combos, closing line ADP value, and you get none of the dead players risk because you can just churn over on waivers. Like obviously if one of your early picks goes down with injury, like that's bad luck. But as far as like just taking those dart throws on the late guys, you can just, it doesn't matter if they don't make the team or they're buried on the depth chart. You can just churn them over.
Yeah, and that is like if you're not familiar with kind of how ADP tends to shake out in those high stakes redraft leagues, the moves up for projectable running back volume and even like solidified running back 2 types is way more extreme than even in best ball. Like if you give the market an inclination, like this is the dude in an ambiguous backfield, they'll just like not blink and take him in round 5 in the way it's like, oh, they'll move up a round and a half on underdog. So it's like getting ahead of some of those because Pat and I's early origins in those drafts is showing up to do a Vegas draft on like September 1st. And the year we always reference was the Justice Hill Darwin Thompson year. Yeah. And it's like you're trying to build a 0 RB room and you're having to pay a 6th round price tag for those guys because the buzz was so loud. So yeah, it's a completely different contest and completely different strategies.
Oh, the Justice Hill Darwin Thompson year. I remember talking to Davis after the fact because we were super high on Justice Hill, and I was like, what were the odds that worked out? Like truly. Not, like it was a good pick structurally and everything, but were they like 15% maybe?
Yes. Yeah. It's hilarious to think of Justice Hill through the lens of his longevity in the league and still being a draftable player.
It is really funny that he's hung around for the same team.
And the like how you think about those guys, like Justice Hill was supposed to be this like electric, like, space back type thing. And now he's just like, oh, he's the boring pass catcher is how we view him now. Chat talking about Tet going at pick 16 to JB Phil, one of the ship chasers in there going and getting his guy at 16. Let's see what that means for us here.
He just took Jaden too.
He don't care about ADP. Chase Brown falls to us at 311. Do you like that?
Yeah, I think that's a slam, and definitely feel good about you reading the friends and family room. That's where if you take Henry, you're probably still taking Chase Brown, but you're like really committed to a certain build. Now we're still pretty flexible.
Yep. Yeah, Worthy goes after us, and we'll see what my guy Ash Coates does here at 4-1. So we have Chase Brown, Amon-Ra, and AJ Brown. He goes Cook. Looks like Evans in the mix here. Josh Allen. What do you think?
I think it's Mike Evans. He's our highest ranked guy. I don't really see any reason to go elsewhere. I don't like taking Allen and Lamar quite this early. I will take them a decent bit when they slip more like middle of the fourth when some of those other receivers go, or after
I agree.
some of those other receivers go.
Yeah, and it kind of allows, you don't have to pass on some of the values there. And I always feel like that's just a nice way to play things you're maybe not even super excited about, is just be like, all right, those are going to be the kind of guys I grab when they slip a little bit past ADP. And then it makes it easier if there is like a true opportunity cost, like tier gap where they're going, and then they fall out of that into that more ambiguous, wide receiver tier.
All right, so I'm on Raw. Start with the Browns.
Mike Evans.
3, huh?
Oh, you're right. Yeah, two Browns there. This is a grown-ass man team. I mean, Amon-Ra doesn't typically qualify, but A.J. Brown, Mike Evans, they're certainly fitting the bill. Any interesting movements or things you guys have been doing with rankings on the back end that's notable?
God, not too much stuff. We chatted over the weekend on some guys that I know Adam likes or doesn't like. Working through the Harvey stuff with Dobbins there. The Chubb stuff.
Yeah.
With Mixon, trying to get the Dallas running backs right, but I don't think we had a ton of stuff. I think we came up on Breece Hall a little bit. We were a little worried. We still might come up a little bit higher on him, closer to ADP. We're a little worried about how last year went with it being a little bit more of a rotation, and he didn't play particularly well, but there were some good quotes from Aaron Glenn recently that sounded pretty, a little bit bullish for Breece, and that maybe he was not fully healthy last year, which I guess you can take a couple of different ways. But if you're thinking positively, it's, kind of explains the down year and some of him being spelled a bit more.
Yeah, I feel like that one, it just has such a wide range of outcomes where neither would surprise me. If you're like, Breece is back to being a bell cow and Fields is good for the offense and Breece cooks, or you tell me this turns into a three-way committee with Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis, I also would be like, okay, I kind of saw that coming, which makes it such an interesting pick there in the early fourth.
And we keep inching up a little bit more on CMC as each day goes by, and there's no like negative health news or anything. I think Adam is kind of thinking like he very easily could just be the top overall player again if he stays healthy. So we keep inching up on CMC. I wouldn't fault anyone if they, were CMC bulls for really just trying to get a lot of CMC right now. You don't usually see a ton of movement in the first round, but he is someone that could eventually become a top 5 pick, by the end of August if everything is, wheels up.
Yeah, we last week Reeves was my guest, and we loaded in his rankings, which aren't tailored specifically for best ball, just his like half point PPR rankings. And he had CMC at 102, and we just ripped it in CMC at 2 there. Nice. With the benefit of like, you get more unique combinations when you do that. Okay, the tools suggesting Kamara, Addison, and Burrow, Olave also in the mix here. What do you think?
Yeah, I like Addison. I think it's given us a little more Addison, just pretty close on ranking ADP, and we get the bring back on Amon-Ra. So just natural tiebreaker there for Addison.
I like it. We grab Addison there just slightly ahead of ADP. And we still have Chase Brown as our anchor with the 4 wide receivers. And now we're back on the clock after Jennings and Godwin go. So we could grab Kamara. We also have Olave and Judy as far as ranking values there.
Yeah. I kind of like just going wide receiver again. What do you think?
Yeah. Do you have a preference?
I like Olave. Just buying a little bit low on one benefit. I think it's like one of those situations where, everyone's scared about the quarterback spot and everything, but it just seems so baked in for a player that really has had a strong, yards per out run. Each of his first few seasons, prospect wise, was pretty solid. Just buying the talent on Olave We were
Yep.
I was chatting with Adam. We don't really have any extra
Dogs.
concussion risk for him. I think some people believe that given his concussion history, he's a little bit more at risk of taking like, a bad hit and being done for the year or something. We don't really have that baked in. So if you're worried about that, I could see where people think maybe we're too bullish. I don't know. I never know how quite to weigh that stuff. So just buying low on the talent right now.
Yep. Yeah, I'm with you. And then one other kind of point for going Olave there over Judy is Judy also had a week 9 bye, as does AJ Brown and Evans. So, not loading up all week 9 buys there for our third, a little bonus to go Olave. So we got Brown and then 5 wide receivers. And then we'll kind of have max flexibility at this 7-8 turn.
Yeah. And that bye week stuff matters a little bit more when you're this wide receiver heavy early, because you're not taking more than 7 at this point.
Right.
And it's possible you even end at 6, but I usually can't bring myself to be disciplined enough to stop at 6. I usually always end up with 7.
Yeah. And to me, it's always like, it kind of ends up depending too on like the pocket passer, or the quarterback you get. And if there is like a really nice second piece to add on for a double stack, and then you're like, well, I kind of want to keep this spot available in my back pocket versus like, I'm going to draft my 6 early and then just completely shut it down. You do limit some of your flexibility in those scenarios.
Yeah. And one thing that's possible for us with not having a ton of stack options here, that someone was asking me about the other day, because I know Herzig guy I've talked about, like in an ideal world, you wouldn't want quarterbacks going against each other in week 17. You'd kind of want to bet on different games. Like if that game goes off, you can only use one of the quarterbacks. You kind of want to take like 2 different bets. But that's in an ideal world. We're in a situation where we might like have to do it to get our stacks with JJ McCarthy and Jared Goff. And I would not be like afraid I wouldn't go too far the other way and like avoid that type of situation if it's going to cost you your team stacks. Team stacks are definitely way more important than the game stacks.
Other than the fact, I think most people, and we've had this like, debate before about the double week 17, and a lot of people, kind of shrug and just say, if I have a team in week 17, I'm going to be so thrilled I won't care. But couldn't you also, from like a game theory standpoint, spin a counter argument, even in an ideal world? If you have both quarterbacks from the one game that goes off, that prevents another game that could potentially match it. And that there's more teams in the finals that now have alternate paths to competing with your like nutted game. And then you have 2 shots at like the truly nut quarterback score from that game.
Yeah, you're going levels deeper here.
I don't know. We're galaxy braining around.
I mean, it might bring it back a little bit, but I still think like if you look at like the distribution of the quarterback scores, there's like, 20% odds the game goes nuts, in which case both quarterbacks do great and you can only use one.
Yeah.
Like 40% odds, it's like middling, it doesn't really matter. You could either, and then like, 40% odds, the game's a dud, in which case you can't use either quarterback score. I think you'd still rather, in an ideal world, I still think you want a second game stack and give yourself more outs for like the quarterback scores to be uncorrelated and carry other players on your team around it. But
yes. Yeah. And I think I'm just thinking like, we know like there's going to be a correlation, right? Even between in a single game, a quarterback and opposing quarterback, like the games that go nuts, like that other quarterback's naturally going to get pushed, that maybe there is an element of like top 1% outcomes where those guys could get pushed to like a truly insane score. But yes, we've already devoted far too much time to the most niche of niche fantasy football topics. All right, pick 83 coming up here at 7-11. We got our 1 running back and 5 wide receivers. Looks like we got some nice running back options here by ADP. Caleb Johnson is the faller. Pollard's here. Pacheco's here. Aaron Jones. If we wanted to pair him with Addison, what do you like in here at this spot as Caleb Johnson comes off the board?
Okay, Caleb goes. I'd probably go Aaron Jones, just, continuing to build out this game. And by rank, he's our highest. By ADP, it's like very close.
Yeah.
So I'd probably go Aaron Jones. I usually wait on my quarterback stacks, but with us not having a ton of outs, with like probably not wanting to take Shug with New Orleans late, and not having, Hurts available for AJ Brown. Possible I would go Baker here. Coming back. I don't know what it's a little early for it.
I see what you're saying though.
It doesn't matter.
Baker goes.
He goes. I might have pulled that early.
We could do Pollard, and then you can always build something late with Cam Ward to give us another quarterback out.
Yeah, I'd go Pollard or Hawk here. I'd be fine with either. I'd probably lean Pollard just because.
I think I am too.
Okay, let's do that.
Yeah, we'll grab Pollard. The other nice thing, Pollard's opposite Olave too, week 17. So continuing to give us some game stack outs there.
Nice. For a second there, I thought Laporta was going to drop. That would have been a pretty juicy pick for us.
Yeah, Laporta goes at pick 81 here. Here's the squad through 7 rounds. We did get the rare, as the chat points out, the elusive St. Brown stack. Beautiful. It should be a children's book. And then we go Mike Evans, Jordan Addison, Chris Olave, Aaron Jones, Tony Pollard. So 3 running backs, 5 wide receivers, no quarterbacks, no tight ends here, but shaping up nicely.
Yeah, it's likely going to be 3 QB, 3 tight end build here.
Yes. And yeah, the chat, Pat and I did the Higgins chase from the 101. We did successfully push Burrow around to the 6-7 turn, and then it happened again here. I feel like that is the other favorite talking point in the best ball streets, is if you could pull off the Joe Burrow thing. Where do you guys have Burrow ranked closer to that turn, right?
Right.
Yeah,
we have him 70th overall. I've noticed though, like I said, kind of not looking at it for a couple of weeks, and some of those teams I was drafting were in the tail end for a bit, but it looks like both Burrow and Baker have kind of come a little bit back towards our ranking, making those stacks, much more accessible than it seems like they were a few weeks ago. For sure.
And I think it's just like a good reminder, because there's, there's the vigilantes, I like to call them, who like to make sure that no one is getting Burrow sliding back to the 6-7 turn. But it's like, that's like where the true value is. And yes, you are getting the correlation boost on top of that if you have Chase and Higgins. So yeah, you probably are, getting a little bit of value there relative to the correlation boost. But if you're taking Joe Burrow unstacked, at pick 65 or whatever, not only are you likely making a suboptimal decision, unless you really like Gesicki and Yoshivas or whatever, but you're also you're not only taking an unstacked quarterback, but you're taking him ahead of like the true rank or the true value. I know like Sean has him ranked very similar to you guys, around 74, 75. So like most people have him right. So I just don't understand the logic of the snipe in that context, but to each his own.
I don't get it, but I'm kind of like these are the people that are paying the rake. We can't be too mad. We can't be mad when they do the things that pay the rake.
I'm celebrating them. I want them to take unstacked Joe Burrow in every single draft I'm not in. Please be the heroes for the rest.
There are some people though that like I see on X, and they're like legitimately tilted. They're like, "Why would you ever do this?"
No, I like to say,
as if it's like your birthright to get Joe Burrow at pick 70 if you drafted Chase and Higgins.
Your birthright. Oh my goodness. All right. We are heading into our selection in the 9th and 10th round. We pick at 107 and 110. We got the 3 running backs and 5 wide receivers. We could start to think about quarterback stuff. Jared Goff's ADP is 117. So that kind of puts us in an interesting range where he's not going to probably come back to us from these 2 picks.
Yeah, we're a little bit in no man's land. I almost think, Goff on the way back might just be a necessary evil for us.
I agree. And Ash isn't going to take Goff. He has no Lions pieces and is a rational drafter. So I think we can sit on that for pick 110. Jonnu, Mark Andrews. So we're seeing some of the tight ends. Ian Coleman's here.
Is if we wanted to I mean, there's like, oh, okay, Nix went, right? Did he just go? There's
No,
like
Bo Nix is
Bo
here.
Nix, Evan Ingram. I'm just thinking through. I think I go Janu here. Sorry. I didn't realize we were.
No, it's all good. Jonu's nice because it does give us another quarterback out as well.
That's my. That's the difference between him and Andrews for me. We could have done like Bo Nix, Ingram. I guess you could have done Caleb and like hope to get Loveland, but Burden had just gone. I'm just thinking through like possible outs. I think we're on Goff here.
I agree.
I don't love it. I know JJ Zacharyason's pretty down on Goff this year, and for the same reasons, we're a little bit down on him relative to ADP. But we've made a bet already. And Goff for a pure pocket passer has a lot of spike weeks because assuming their offense is going to regress some. Ben Johnson leaving, even without him leaving, going to regress some. But the types of games they get into sometimes, like they're very aggressive when they need to be. It's not their go-to. It's not their first nature. The first nature is to run the ball, but they'll go for a lot of fourth downs. That puts their touchdown rate higher than other teams in the league. When they need to throw, they kind of like have an understanding of how the game's going. So Goff does end up with a lot of these like really high-end scores for a quarterback that runs absolutely none. And for a team that is kind of run heavy in terms of, pass rate over expectation stuff.
Yeah. And the other point to it is, even if you're giving up a little rankings value, is we just don't have too many other really strong options with Baker off the board, Hurts. And like you said, because we did 5 early, we also don't have a lot of ability to build out additional back stacks. I guess we did that a little bit with Janu to give us another out, but you really start to have to get comfortable and you open yourselves up to risk of like, okay, you pass on Goff. This team really needs JJ McCarthy. And then if you miss out on McCarthy, then you're really kind of scrambling to build out a back stack.
I am hoping that the Janu to the Steelers rumors are totally dead. It seemed like they died down and it's not really happening, but I don't know. Sometimes things happen after the fact, but
that would be, his ADP would probably plummet or ranking to what, like 150 to 160, like behind Dallas Goedert and those guys.
I think, pretty easily. Let me see. Yeah, I think it's possible it goes to even behind like Ferguson and Kraft, like the Ferguson Kraft Pitts. Like I'm wondering if he even would drop behind Likely. Like it's a chance you might just swap him out with where Freiermuth is right now.
Yeah,
he might go all the way down that far. And
then Freiermuth is like fringe undrafted, like round 18 pick in that scenario.
Yeah, he's He's like, hey, if you really need a tight end in round 18, you can take him. But if you don't need a tight end, you're not like, ooh, Pat Freiermuth round 18.
Be such a mess there. All right, here's our team 1-3-5-1. So we did get Goff stacked up with Amon-Ra, and then we got the double week 17 bring back with Aaron Jones and Addison. One other nice thing we didn't mention about the Jonu pick, opposite Mike Evans, week 17. I do have the ETR draft assistant in here with the ADP weight, week 17 importance in between, medium and high there.
Give us a little bit more week 16 and 15 love here.
I wasn't tweaking this. I think this was the default.
I know. I got to yell at the default. I put 17 higher, but I do week 16 and 15 a little higher than our default.
Okay. McCarthy comes back. I'm definitely down for that, especially because of my new Galbrain theory about why it's actually good to have both these guys.
Yeah, I think I just take McCarthy, and then we've got third quarterback outs now, and we feel good. I mean, we're playing this draft a little safe, but you have the ability to play a little bit safer, I think, when you stockpile just skill players early.
Yeah, so 2-3-5-1, we grab McCarthy there. By ADP, we're looking at like Mims, Hollywood Brown, which are also top of your ranking values. Do you think one of those wide receivers is the play?
Yeah, I mean, or Javonte is fine too. Sometimes I'm just such a value hound that I'll just take it, even though I know the news there is like trending a little bit the other way. I'd probably go Javonte. We only have 2 running backs, right? Oh, no,
Correct. Or 3.
We have 3. Let's go Javonte. Let's go Javonte.
Okay. All right. We'll give Javonte. I mean, well, I was just talking about this with Pat, and I know Levitan had a tweet about it too, that you guys have like closed the gap between Javonte, not closed the gap, but tightened the gap between Javonte and Miles Sanders. And based on some of the reporting, it seems like that could be more of a up in the air situation than maybe the ADPs are indicating right now.
Yeah, I do think the market's too bullish, Javonte, but we have him ranked 132, and it was a full round past ADP. And I don't know, just the way my brain works in those spots. And this is where I might be a little nittier than some people. Sometimes when I just get that ADP value and it's like fine by rank, I just take it, like not totally making a bet on where the ADP is going to go from here and just locking in, a round of ADP value live in the draft. It's also like, if you are diversifying some, you don't take Javonte in that spot. You're probably not getting him unless you are right in the ADP falls, and you can get him a lot later. But there's a chance it goes the other way too.
Yeah, I agree. Because I do think that's really what the conversation about is. Are the news wins and the coach speak going to continue to move in favor of like Sanders being right there with him? In which case, like Javonte routinely being a 140 to 150 pick could like certainly become a reality, and Sanders becomes like a 160, 170 guy. But it just depends on how confident you feel on that market read.
We've also put ourselves in a spot where we can get back to those 7 wide receivers for sure now.
True.
And there's the potential for some backdoor stackage as a result.
Yep. Here's the team: 2, 4, 5, 1. Goff and McCarthy, each going for 30 plus points in that week 17 dome game. Chase Brown, Aaron Jones, Tony Pollard, Javonte there. So Brown anchor, and then picking our spots. Still got those 5 early wide receivers: Amon-Ra, AJ Brown, Evans, Addison, and Olave. And then Jonnu Smith there at tight end.
Are you taking any round 18 Miami guys if you get Tua?
I've done Nick Westbrook-Akine in a pinch if I need a wide receiver and just like a guy who I think could give me some touchdown equity. But he's really the only one I've done. Do you sprinkle any in?
I've done him once and Malik Washington once.
Yeah.
I think Akine is probably the better bet. There's part of me that's still like a little enamored with the speed of Malik, especially sometimes in a spot where we're in now. I galaxy brain myself into Malik being the better play of like, if it's not Waddle and Tyreek, like he might be the guy that has maybe a little bit more upside, but.
So we're on the clock.
Anyways,
we lost to QJ, Leggett, Tillman, kind of, and McMillan are the wide receivers.
Yeah, is Bryce still there? I might go Leggett to give us Bryce.
Bryce
there's also there's McMillan for week 17 a little bit better. I think I might go McMillan, even though we're not going to have the quarterback there. Just build out Tampa Bay, Miami without the quarterback.
Yep, I like that. We grab McMillan 2461. Do you want to make the chat groan again with another Kyle Pitts selection?
If he comes back, I'll probably make them groan. Yeah. What's the quarter? Sorry, can you go to quarterback? I just kind of
There is the Cam Ward, because we had talked about that as a potential third, which opens up some other wide receivers, Chig and stuff late. That would be another option.
Yeah, I was gonna say you get Chig, which isn't bad. I think I'd go Pitts. I just think there's a little bit more juice there. But like, if Ward made it all the way back, it's not super likely. But if he did, I would 100% pull the trigger at that point.
Wow. Back-to-back drafts this morning taking Kyle Pitts. Even Pat and I drafted him.
Well, at least we don't have Pitts and Kincaid like we did a couple weeks ago.
Yes, that was when you really lost the room.
The room was like one, okay, both. No.
Yes.
As if they're correlated.
So we're now up to a pretty balanced build, 2-4-6-2, 2 quarterbacks, got the 4 running backs, including the anchor, the 6 wide receivers, kind of that phantom buck stack there, with Evans and McMillan, and then the 2 tight ends, Jonnu and Kyle Pitts. Yeah, the Tua pick I think would have made sense for us if he had made it back, but that dream died at 151.
Yeah, I would have gone for Tua. I mean, if Penix even had made it, I might have tried to go Penix Pitts, but he goes to, that was probably what that guy was trying to do. Or that drafter, I mean, we sniped him.
Yeah.
Oh,
maybe
yeah,
not.
They don't have tight end yet.
No, they have London though, so they were interested in that. Yeah. And they got Johnny Smith's backup anyways, Pat Fryermuth. So
I mean, you got to know not to push Kyle Pitts around the corner when.
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying, you got to read your room and see that it's a Peter Overzet drafting with Mike Leone team, and no, there's no way Kyle Pitts is coming back. For the people in the back, Kyle Pitts contract year.
Oh man, this is where things have gone. That is, oh boy.
That was like initial. Go ahead.
Has there ever been a player that just falls like 4 rounds a year every year? We were like almost at first round Kyle Pitts.
Because it was like, it went, so like, because I remember it was that rookie year, like we were taking him in the 5th round of drafts. So he went 5th round to 2nd round. And then he went 2nd round back to 6th round.
He maybe stayed flat those 2 years because
I think he stayed flat because he was like 6th round back-to-back years.
I think he stayed flat. Yeah, I think he went 2, 6, 6, 14.
And what we really needed was for him to go 2, 6, 10, 14, and then we could get one more year next year at 18 to just like the continual 4-round fall. Yeah, and so this is the chat talking to the recent coach speak about Kyle Pitts. So this was from the 10th. Kyle Pitts is dealing with an injury. Hopefully he's going to be fine. And then talked about his role. He's always had the same role. He's a big-time matchup problem. He's able to move the chains on 3rd down. He's probably been used in the pass game for us. He grew a little in the run game department last year. He's become more of a complete tight end. I feel good about the connection that grew between Penix and Kyle Pitts at the end of last year. He's super talented. That's always going to be the thing that gives you hope on him. The opportunities will present themselves again for him. I've got a lot of belief in him. Those quotes from Michael Leone there on Kyle Pitts, not head coach Raheem Morris. Okay, we're about to pick here on the clock. 2561 build. ADP faller. Braylon Allen about a round past ADP. The ranks like Michael Wilson, Will Shipley as well. What do you like here? Braylon Allen goes.
God, we're in a little bit of a strange spot here, huh?
Michael Wilson opposite Chase Brown, week 17 is probably why he's getting pushed up a little.
Yeah, and I guess ADP and rank is up there.
Yeah,
I might just do the Michael Wilson. I feel like I found him at the top of my queue, not taking him a lot. Can you expand the playoff matchups?
Oops, my bad.
No, you're good. I was just, we'll just get another week 17. I don't mind it. I do think Tyler Shuck, I looked it up. It's Tyler Shuck. That's how we pronounce this.
Yes.
I think he's fine in 17, 18 as our 3rd quarterback. If not, maybe we take like a upside dart on like A-Rich. I like Shipley.
Yeah.
He's been someone I've been trying to get a lot of at this price. We can definitely afford like a full contingency back too.
I like it too on an AJ Brown team. Just get another Eagles guy. So he's our 5th running back. What were you going to say?
I was thinking maybe we close out running back, but I guess we're not that. What do we got? Brown.
It's a
it could
tweener.
go either way. It could go either way.
Because we have 2 more picks. One of them's definitely a tight end, and then I think it's, do you want a 6th running back or that 3rd quarterback?
Yeah, I typically in BBM lean the 3rd quarterback and get another stack, especially with having like 2 pretty pure pocket passers.
Yeah,
my lean right now is 3rd quarterback, but we'll. Especially having like Shuck like be a stack. Obviously, there's both upside and playing time concerns. Not a great combination for a quarterback, but having the Olave bet and just kind of crossing your fingers and hoping Kellen Moore can get it done.
Yep.
And then there's like Dart and A-Rich types too, that could provide some upside with their legs.
And I know you had really hoped that we would have the opportunity to draft Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson together, but that dream is now dead.
The dream is dead.
The dream is dead. Yeah, this. I feel like this is just a situation people are finding themselves in a lot this year, where like the quarterback prices allow you to get 2 quarterbacks fairly cheaply that you feel good about, but it still feels slightly tweenerish on a 3 quarterback build or not. Like, I feel like in previous years, the ADP landscape where the quarterbacks were just a little bit more expensive, like you'd just be like, not even thinking Goff, McCarthy, like I'm done at quarterback.
Yeah. So the only position we're like definitely done at is going to be wide receiver.
Yep. Yeah, 7 wide receivers. We got the 5 early, and then we add on McMillan and Wilson, who both have like enough juice to round out that room.
Yeah. That's why I'm like in hindsight wondering. I mean, the Michael Wilson pick was fine, but we could have maybe gone Slayton and kept Dart open if we wanted to.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm like too thinking that we have to go 3 quarterbacks though, and we could maybe just let it ride. Yes.
The chat just giving us progressively worse quarterback options. Milrow team, Rattler team. What else do you guys got for us?
The Rattler Shuck combo. Screw your I'd raise you, Danny Dimes and Anthony Richardson.
I feel like
we do have the Pollard game stack with Shuck.
We do.
I think I'm into Shuck if he lasts.
Yes. Here we go. Clayton Tune.
Oh, Micah would love that. That's his favorite player, believe it or not.
Seriously?
He drafted a Madden franchise with the injuries on, and he had Kirk Cousins when he like tore his Achilles that year. So his backup that was auto drafted for him was Clayton Tune, and then he won the Super Bowl with Clayton Tune. So that is now legitimately his favorite player.
That's incredible. Does he already possess like better clock management skills than most NFL coaches from all of his video games?
He's working on it. He's getting there.
All right, let's see here.
He's already at 8 years old. Does the thing I do where he's like simulating running a franchise instead of playing the games.
You know, the AI overlords are here. So we're going to take Tyler Shuck, but we should probably take our tight end first because Ashton, I don't think is going to take him and only has 1 tight end. That is if there's a tight end you like.
Yeah.
Here. It got gross.
What do you think? I could see maybe going like Ferguson or Arroyo, giving some like rookie upside here in this room. I don't have it.
I'm going to take Shuck to buy us more time because I don't think it matters enough.
Do we have any correlations with any of those? Can you just X out the other positions? I'm kind of wondering what it would rank the tight ends.
Oops. Let's see. Did I do that right?
No. You want to X running back, quarterback, and well, it's fine. We're on the clock. You X'd out tight end.
Okay. Noah Gray, Theo Johnson, Tyler Higbee.
All right.
Higbee is opposite.
Oh, we get Theo. We get Theo week 16 stack. Week 16 with Minnesota. That's not so bad.
Okay. All right.
You seemed like you were gravitating towards him already.
Sure. Yeah, I've been doing a little bit of Higbee when I need just a body late at tight end, but I also like Theo there as well. So there you go. But man, tight end got wiped there.
Yeah, it definitely,
because the Jawan Johnson Tyler Shuck combo would have obviously made sense.
Yeah, we could really leaned into the Saints stuff. All right.
Let's recap. Take a look at this. We kind of knew we were headed for a 3 quarterback, 3 tight end build when we didn't take the first quarterback until 110, first tight end at 107. End up with Jared Goff, JJ McCarthy, and Tyler Shuck. There are running backs: Chase Brown, Aaron Jones, Tony Pollard, Javonte, Will Shipley. I feel like that's like if you looked at your initial manifesto on like how to spend running back draft capital, I feel like this would have been like in the absolute sweet spot of draft capital.
Bye-week bros are going to come after us, but you know,
for the 10s. Yeah.
For the 10s. It's okay. Shippy will be starting by then.
Exactly.
Yeah, bye-week bros coming after us. But yeah, it was definitely a little bit light on running back capital. But sometimes I think you can take a stand there. Chase Brown also we have him ranked ahead of ADP. We have him as like a 2-3 turn pick. So
yeah, you have him at 25.
Yeah.
Yep. So then those 5 running backs, the wide receivers, we get the Browns, Amon-Ra and AJ Brown, Mike Evans, Jordan Addison, Olave, Jalen McMillan, Michael Wilson, tight ends, Johnny Smith, Kyle Pitts, Theo Johnson. What do you say to the haters who will point out that you said, give me rookies or give me death? And your way of fulfilling that was by taking Tyler Shuck at 17-11.
We did not go rookie free. We got one. We got one in there. Yeah, that wasn't our heaviest rookie draft, was it?
Didn't we draft a Tyler Shuck? Was it like the first draft we did where that was the lone rookie too?
Jackson Dart was the lone rookie. We may have
a
Shuck in there, but we did the Jackson Dart lone rookie out of the gate. The wide receiver heavy early teams, you know,
there's another Shuck team for us.
Very successful historically in BBM. You do see where it's a little bit harder to get the ADP value on your stacks, though, just because you have so much less flexibility, and it forces you. Not that we got terrible values on Goff or McCarthy, but just point out we did take both, slightly ahead of ADP?
Yes. Yep. But we kind of talked about that where it's kind of, and I've been mentioning this too, where you can really get burned trying to chase the ADP value at quarterback when those quarterback runs happen and you don't have a ton of options set up for late stacks. So I've been leaning toward doing exactly what we did here and just taking them slightly ahead of ADP. I tend to always like my teams better when I do that.
No, I agree with you 100%. I guess what I'm saying is that I think you have to do what we did if you go wide receiver heavy early. It's just the one small drawback of it. The plus being that, you know, historically taking that level of wide receiver capital early is just a good investment. And those teams tend to do very well, both in the regular season and the playoff rounds.
And I think we were, if Ashton didn't do the Baker Egbuka tap at the 7-8 turn, I think we probably were going to lean Baker there at 86.
Yeah, we go Baker there, and then that would have given us a little flexibility on the Goff pick to kind of maybe just wait. He probably doesn't make it back to us, but then we're fine taking McCarthy. And then that maybe with that investment in Baker opens up more of a 2 QB build. But yeah, we got our 3 stacks.
Yeah. So how do you I think it's kind of like the age old debate about like how much to value correlation, even team level correlation of like thinking through that idea, even like separating the quarterback positional and like reading the room dynamics of like, if you have Goff below ADP as a rank, but then you take him on Raw, which obviously makes him more valuable. And the reality of this team needs Jared Goff to pay off. Like, how was this close to the line of like how much ranking value you were willing to give off or give up because it was offset by the round 1 correlation?
Yeah, it was probably close to the line. We do have some quarterbacks that go after him that we definitely have ranked above him. But it's just tough. With the exception of maybe Drake May, it would have been pretty tough to make those stacks work, I think. And that's where I think like the team correlation and the need at quarterback too, right? Like we have 0 quarterbacks through 9 rounds. So it's not just a team correlation, but it's like we have to start picking quarterbacks at some point anyways. So I think they're all close enough that I'm fine taking Goff. But yeah, I probably wouldn't have taken, like if it was the beginning of round 10, I would have rolled the dice and hoped that, you know, he came back to the 11-12 turn if we were in that spot.
The other thing about it is like there's sometimes it's like a trickle down effect to, especially if you're picking at the turns where it's like, okay, would you rather reach slightly ahead of ADP for Baker, slightly more ahead of ADP for Goff, or at pick 134, are you wanting to reach for Tua because you know he might not come back to 155 and now you have like no quarterbacks. And so it's like the reaching could become, like exponential, like if you keep punting that first one.
I like to get that first, like you said, if you keep punting the first one. And that's why when we were talking about Baker, I was like, usually in this spot, I might not go Baker, but knowing that we're not taking a lot of wide receivers and we've already got 2 wide receivers, we don't particularly want to stack or literally can't in the case of AJ Brown. I would have definitely taken Baker a little ahead of ADP there. I like getting that first one just to give you a back. Like you've got one team stack locked in. You can maybe make some things work late with like 1 or 2 spots at tight end, but when you have to make like 2 or 3 stacks work late, that's when you're like really in trouble.
Yep. You know what? We got 654 people watching. I don't know how many likes we got. If you guys subscribe, like, do all that, but nothing can like continue the momentum of a great stream more so than asking a question like this. Leone, what is your favorite Excel function? Coming from Sags21. This is how we keep viewer retention and enthusiasm for the stream with questions like this.
So I will give you my answer. I'll preface it with, I am not nearly as nerdy with Excel as people tend to think I am. Also Google Sheets over Excel. I'm on that team.
I like that.
But when I figured out how to like make use of queries in the Google Sheet, it changed a lot of what we could do, so I like using the query function.
Okay. Which is
we use a lot of VLOOKUP, index match over VLOOKUP. So Chris Diaz is really like
bang, shots fired, VLOOKUP.
I go index match. Shout out to Dave from the Daily Roto days who taught me that.
There you go. Wow. I bet Leone is an undercover Python, bro. Do you don't mess with do you? Do you use Python?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. There you go. Sacrilegious wants to know what was the specific board game you were playing at the ETR retreat?
Is a social deduction game called Quest. So like half the people are good, half the people are bad, but like you don't know all the information, and it was a ton of fun. There's something, if you would have just said Quest, I think I would have just been on board, but somehow you prefacing it with a social deduction game just made my skin crawl. Yeah, I had to. That's how Connor, who is like the king of the nerds on our data science team, who brought the game, pitched it. So I had to do that well for him. So you needed to experience fully.
Who was the best at deducing social interactions during that game?
Sam Brott is pretty good at the deduction. Sean, PSU, was good at distracting people from doing the deduction, like when he was trying to screw people up. He was quite good at that.
Okay, little gamesmanship there.
Yeah, everybody was like good at some things and terrible at other things, which kind of made it funny.
Yeah.
But it was like, I don't know, it was I mean, we were just all obsessed with it for the weekend, so it was fun. I don't have, like, locally, I don't have any friends that would do that, So yes. Like to scratch that itch.
I don't want to get the rap that I hate board games. I would very much enjoy playing board games. The point is, though, it's just like you said, other than being like at a retreat, when else do you have time to be like 5 hours to go to someone's house and play board games? I feel like if I did that, it would generally be a poker night type of thing. But being, in a cabin in the woods playing board games, I'm on board with that. It was just the phrase social deduction that just really rubbed me the wrong way. Okay?
I don't blame you whatsoever. The game itself also took like 20 to 30 minutes. We were just obsessed and kept playing it. So I feel like you would be really good at this game, though. I actually feel like you would quite enjoy this game.
So my favorite all-time like group game is like that, or I don't know if it's exactly like that, is Balderdash, which I guess is technically a social deduction game. As I think about it, have you played Balderdash?
I haven't.
Okay, so that's where, like, the old school version, like I played this growing up, is you literally just get a dictionary and someone picks out an obscure word that no one actually knows the definition to. They write down the real definition and everyone else writes down a definition that they're trying to get everyone else to select as the actual definition. And then there's the board game version, has like fun categories. It's like a log line to a movie and no one's heard of the movie and you write it. So getting to write like fake log lines to movies or fake things for acronyms and basically trying to fool people into making the real one not seem the real one and yours is very fun.
Yeah. We had a game called Malarkey when
Oh,
that
okay.
was very similar.
Yeah.
Type thing that I had played.
Well, there you go. When
this game was really, it was good because it had that element of like, you know, lying and inventiveness and making things up, but then it also had like, there were certain rules, so there was like a logical deduction side to it. So it was really trippy, and people would, you know, obviously play a little bit suboptimally to like not reveal exactly who they were. We're looking it up. What's the Board Game Geek rating on this?
Is it this one? Is a rules like fantasy tabletop role playing game? That doesn't sound like what you were playing.
I get scroll down. I saw the Board Game Geek come up because that's
one.
It. Yeah, all new social deduction game.
Evil and good face off in an epic quest full of traitors and lying.
So they play up the theme, which I think even as we were learning it, like I think the theme almost made it like maybe more confusing than it needed to be initially.
Gotcha.
But you know, they got to theme it up, right? Like
that's right. Okay. All right. You know, I will just say, if anyone's turned off by this, do not worry. Pat Mayo is going to be joining me in 4 minutes to draft a team. We're going to bro it out. We're going to rank our favorite beers, do push-ups, and show off our chest hair to the camera.
We're going to balance things out. Yeah.
That's right. What do you guys got going on at ETR this week now that you're all done drinking in the woods?
Yeah, I mean, we're just continuing to pump out rankings. Silva and Levitan are potting it up. I think Jack Dink and Adam are going to do a pod or a YouTube show in the next week or two, just kind of ranking offenses based on some objective metrics, kind of like a fun little thing to look at the best offenses to invest in and kind of see if we can deduce any signal there. Yeah, you know, WNBA still rocking and rolling. And then, you know, before we know it, the redraft streets will be popping. I mean, I guess they already are for the ship chasing main event team that you're drafting. We will be, I think, over this week actually having our redraft ranks for NFFC and FFPC out on site.
Nice. Yeah. Well, we'll definitely be syncing up later in the summer for our, you know, one of our or two of our annual drafts together. But yeah, FFPC dropped their main events earlier than ever. It used to be like after July 4th, and now they're in the lobby. And like you said, some pretty fun values to be had now if you're on top of it. So I will be looking forward to that.
The values seem craziest early, and then man, sometimes at those live drafts, those boards seem to get like nuttier than the online drafts the 2 weeks preceding it. I mean, you would know better than me in terms of that aspect.
Yes. You want to say hi to your pal, Pat Mayo here, Mike, a little passing of the baton here on Best Ball Breakfast.
Mayo, you got any good board games that you're going to be pitching while you're on?
Oh, boy. I don't know. I haven't played board games in a while. We found one from the 70s that was in our old condo, and we just kind of play that. My wife and I are just good at it, so when we have guests over, we just dummy everyone. It's perfect.
You just pretend like, oh, let's find a board game, and it's one you guys have like grinded hundreds of hours of. It's like, oh, funny, this is here.
I want to ask you that. If let's say you've had a game of Trivial Pursuit for a while, and someone will ask you a question, you'll know the answer, and they'll say, "Hey, you only know that because you've played this game." It's like, but then don't you actually know that?
Yeah. I think it's trippier too when it's like it feeds into your subconscious and then you like really think like you knew this information, but really you just played it before.
Yeah, but let's say it wasn't trivial. Well, let's say it wasn't Trivial Pursuit. It was a different trivia game.
Taboo.
And that question was
Taboo
asked.
was a good one that would happen with us because you would like there'd be words you could say or not say, and you'd have to get people to guess a word, and we would like know the like 6 celebrities in there.
That's fair. But if you were playing a different trivia game and the same question came up, but you answered it in that game because you know the answer to it, there's no shenanigans. But if you did it in a trivia game where you probably heard it 3 years ago or something, potentially, then I don't see what the difference is. It's not like I'm going through memorizing the cards. A question was
you've
asked.
learned it. It is now your knowledge.
Yes.
If you were playing bar trivia, it would count.
Yes.
I think the true equitable solution is you let people know, hey, you're coming over for dinner. There's a high likelihood we're going to end up playing Trivial Pursuit. I just want you to know I have an intimate knowledge of most of the cards within it. You should bring your hopefully newer edition or later edition of Trivial Pursuit. We'll shuffle up all the cards and then be on a level playing field. Do you think you could fit that into a single invite to all of your friends?
I think that could work. And the problem is the new Trivial Pursuits are awful. You want to play the old ones is the thing.
There you go.
Real quick.
Yes.
Drew came over and me and Rachel, I should say, beat him in Ticket to Ride. His first time ever playing that game. Fast forward like 4 years later, and he told me he won a Ticket to Ride tournament online via their Discord. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's
The
it. That's
nerd
the whole
levels
story.
on this stream have reached impossible heights. We're hemorrhaging viewers. So Leone, get off the screen, and we'll see you next week.
Gonna go do some social deduction. See you guys.
Yeah, we'll see you. All right, Pat. How you doing? Haven't got to talk to you since your live show. How did that go the other week?
It went really well. We had a bunch of people show up. I was glad that it wasn't just us talking to an empty room. So that was very nice. We're going to release it on my pod feed and Mayo Media Network on Thursday. So for people who weren't there, they can catch most of it. We did cut some of it out because, I mean, spoiler alert, Cam was like sauced. And by the end of it, he was just shooting off at people, I think.
That's you know the nerves of the live show. You're having some drinks pre-show, and next thing you know, you can't release it fully to the public. That's how you know you're in a good spot.
Issue was we had too many people because Kenny and Cam were out front because it was in a bar. So they were just kind of hanging out, not in the green room while we were doing mic checks, getting cameras set up. And a lot of people who were coming to the show saw them at the bar and then started buying them drinks. So they walked in just polluted.
Yes, and you're like, I'm trying to put on a show here and was not expecting my talent to be, 3 sheets to the wind. Did they get a tisking from you?
No, I mean, for the first hour and 45 minutes, it was fine. And then it slowly went downhill. So I wrapped up the entire production.
Yes. And I had your colleague, Jeff Feinberg on Lulz the other day to keep us abreast on all of the drama in the sports betting world. I didn't realize how deep down the rabbit hole he's gone there.
We played at Jeff's course. It was the day after Lulz came out because I actually listened to Lulz on the plane. And then I saw Jeff the next day at his golf course. And it was Cust and I and Kenny. We were sitting there with him and just having lunch before we teed off. And Cust asked us, what's going on with this? And he got about 30 seconds into it. It's like, you know what? I don't care. I don't need to know this.
All of the comments from that show were like, I have no clue what this guy's talking about, but I love it. And I could listen to him ramble about this for hours. And I was like, I think there's a few shows for you on the Mayo Media Network involving this man, if you'd like to check that out more.
Yeah, he tries to bring that crossover content. I'm not here for it. It's like, there's very little I care about to begin with, but random internet people playing poker and getting ripped off through Twitter streams is not my scene at all. I don't want to be involved with this.
Yes, but yeah, your panel though, you had Rob Pizzola, who's now embroiled in all of this, so you might get pulled in whether you like it or not at some point.
I really hope not. I feel like that's a separate branch from the normal shows that we tend to do, the more fun stuff. They do their shows over on that channel. They're probably recording it right now, actually. It tends to come out on Tuesday morning. So I'm sure there'll be some sort of update and, I shouldn't have got involved in this, but I'm going to do it anyway and put my foot on the pedal and get involved even more for internet clout. I just don't want the hassle in my life. Poor Rob, his hairline has aged 5 years since I've known him a year.
Well, and you and I are more similar in that regard versus those guys who are really in the Twitter streets, in the conversations, in talking about everything. So it's two different modes of how you want to spend your time on the internet there.
Even like when you guys were doing the Run Pure Ship It stuff, it was funny because I think I had Big T on one week, and then I do the show with Tambo every single week. I was like, oh boy, this is not exactly where I wanted to land here.
Yeah, you got to maintain your role as Switzerland in all of these DFS and sports betting beefs. Well, Pat, I did just jump us in to a best ball mania draft. Of course, you and I could shoot the shit about any topic for an hour, but wanted to draft with you. I know you've done a couple of drafts recently. You had my guy Nez on talking eliminator strategy. And you're coming off of a big golf weekend. So where are you at as far as in the draft streets these days?
I did a draft. I actually did an eliminator draft with Nez about a week and a half ago. So he kind of got me caught up on the rules. This is my preferred best ball rule style. I think this is more geared towards me because I blindly go into these best ball drafts just not knowing what any of the rules are, get my guests to explain it. And I try to figure out what the proper strategy is going to be and try to articulate that out loud to him. And I think I like the strategy that I came up with this. I mean, it could be a dead loser, but I feel like you got to build this like a DraftKings cash game.
Yeah. Cash game week. I mean, every week except week 1 and week 17, just a head-to-head matchup. It's the perfect game for the cash game kings out there.
Yeah, well, you do need to gear up for week 1 and really tailor everything. I wouldn't even worry about week 17 unless like you have the absolute stone, like nut low matchups, but yeah, if you can just get good floors out of guys and hit on 1 or 2, like I really wouldn't want to overstack one of these teams, put it that way.
For sure. Yeah, there's so many strategic wrinkles with it. We are about to pick here, Pat. We're on the turn, the 1-2 turn. So like Brian Thomas, Genty, Derrick Henry, AJ Brown are here. Do you have any favorites of these high-end guys?
And McCaffrey's gone already?
He is. Yeah, he's been going higher and higher these days.
Yeah, I like him at 1, so that makes sense. Let's take Genty. That's fun.
Yeah, Genty there. And then who would you like to pair him with? You got Derrick Henry, Brian Thomas, Drake London.
Well, let me throw it to you because you've been doing a few of these. How's the receiver going to look for us next time through?
I'm trying to look at this room. This definitely is kind of a friends and family wide receiver heavy room. I think it's probably smart if we grab a wide receiver and stay balanced here.
All right. Who's your favorite receiver? Drake London?
I haven't done much Drake London. You want to do Drake London?
Yeah, let's do some Drake London.
Yeah. Let's grab him here. What was I going to say before that? I'm forgetting. But yeah, so you've been enjoying the thought experiment of the eliminator?
I think it's more geared for someone like I'm just not going to play 100 best ball teams. I do not have the patience to sit there and actually draft them. And then what happened to me is I saw there was a bunch of overlay in golf this year for some of the bigger tournaments. So I went in and did all of my rankings and just basically set everything to auto draft.
Yeah.
And I just ended up with the same team like 70 times. I didn't really want that either.
Is that a good team though?
No, I bricked all of those ones, and the ones that I actually hand drafted did very well. And the problem became, I think I was like one of 3 people to release rankings for PGA Best Ball. So you had the ETR guys, and then you had my team. And I know a couple people that used my rankings and did awesome. Then I went and checked, like, I wonder how many drafts I was in with some of these people. And then it was like all of them. I was like, oh, well, they took all of the guys that I wanted. And like, because they knew they saw my name on the auto draft, they know what my rankings are, just scum me on all my high picks.
That's the story of my life with these stream drafts. And it's just like, then I end up drafting all the players I don't like when I'm on stream, and I have to wait until I'm off stream to actually get the guys I want. This is the cross we bear, Pat.
Yeah. I mean, Underdog pays me enough that I can afford the losses.
There you go. Finally, someone willing to say the quiet part out loud. There was a question in here. Someone wanted to know if you had any sweats in the Albatross contest.
I don't at all. No, I feel like I'm done after the U.S. Open. I had Spawn, but that was basically it. Like all my top guys crashed and burned at the PGA Championship. I think I had 2 teams left through, and the Albatross is the major one. So I think I played the $10, like the 10 max $50 one of that. And I think I only had 2 teams through to the PGA, one to the US Open, and it bricked. So I'm done. Wait till next year.
I had one team, my Ron Stewart was on with me the other day and told me I had a team going in here, but it looks like it is crashing out here, dead last. Man, did Scotty Scheffler bone me this weekend? Is that what happened?
Not really. He was the best of all the big guys, but it's the rest of your team. Let's see. 1 made cut, 2 made cuts, 3 made cuts. You only had 3 people play the weekend at the US Open. It's going to be tough.
Well, I will say this. I auto-drafted this team and didn't even use ranks. I auto-drafted it off ADP. So easy come, easy go with that team.
The chat is very happy that I am Nova Scotian, it turns out.
Yeah, lots of conversation about Nova Scotia. Is that where you're based now or where you're from?
It's both. I'm from Halifax, and I was gone for 17 years between Toronto and New York. And then I moved back to Halifax after my youngest turned 2. I think we celebrated his 2nd birthday. Here he's 5 now. So we've been back for about 3 years. It's a hotbed of the gaming and daily fantasy sports industry, though. Meanie's about an hour away. Tambo lives 15 minutes from me now. And everyone who's sort of in my orbit is out here as well, although Paul was moving back to Ontario very soon.
Nice. Yeah, well, Brick and I were talking about on Lulz. We were like, what if, you guys did a live show. Like, what could we get 20 people to a live show in Chicago? Based on the comments, it seemed like there are people who are interested in it. And you guys got a decent amount of people traveling to Toronto, didn't you?
Most of the people that we got were not from Toronto. We had very few, it was like friends who came just to, help support me and buy a few extra tickets. But, people traveled, people from Italy, California, Florida, Texas, South Carolina, a couple guys up your way from Boston ended up flying in, a couple dudes from Jersey, a couple dudes from Chicago, more women there than I would have ever imagined, which was shocking to me. But yeah, most people traveled from, America to Canada to come see this show. And I asked them, what do you think of Toronto? And they were like, yeah, it's like New York, but way cleaner.
Yeah, it's nice. Hang on, we're on the clock here. 7 seconds. You like Breece Hall, Tet McMillan, Xavier Worthy, DJ Moore, Lamar Jackson? Anyone jump out to you?
Moore. DJ Moore.
Let me get him. Okay, boom. No, I didn't get him in time, but we'll get him here.
Who did we take instead?
Breece Hall, but we can still
okay, that's
DJ
fine.
Moore.
Then we can take DJ Moore with it.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are spooked about them drafting those 2 rookies, but you're still all aboard, the DJ Moore train with Ben Johnson and this new offense.
Say that again. I was reading the comments.
I said a lot of people are spooked about DJ Moore with them, drafting Loveland and Luther Burden and the new kind of coaching staff and his, effort issues last year, but you're full steam ahead.
Okay, who is worried about this? Is this a straw man or is this like way too in the weeds dynasty internet guy?
Well, it's way too in the weeds best ball guy.
Yeah, okay. So the guys that think that they're like last round pick is like, I'm going to win every best ball draft because I took Luther Burden here in the final round. Like, no, DJ Moore is going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown for them. It'd be awesome.
Okay, I like that take. You're getting me hyped up. Because he was a mid 3rd round pick before the draft. He has fallen here. You can generally get him in the mid 4th. But we'll be pretty unique here because I don't think a lot of people have like Breece Hall and DJ Moore together.
No, probably not. But that's due to us not realizing we're picking until 7 seconds left to make a pick. Maybe that's the plan. You don't want to get duped. Just like have like the Men in Black thing, turn it on and like it'll alert you 10 seconds before your pick, and you just see a name and you got to pick.
That's basically the story of my life. Drafting on stream here is just panic clicking players. And I even did a 30-second draft. Sometimes on my own time, been doing the 20-second drafts. We got the full 30 seconds here, and I still couldn't pull it off, mainly because I'm just enjoying your anecdotes about what it's like to live in Canada. There you go. Canadians love DJ Moore. Is there any connection between DJ Moore and Canada that I'm missing?
I don't know what it is either. Is Burden not a last round pick?
No, he's like a pick 100, like 8th and 9th.
So he's going before like real players, is what you're saying?
Yes. He's like the end of like all the interesting wide receivers right now. He's falling because been dealing with a soft tissue injury in camp.
Yeah, he's a classic case of I know way more than you about football, yet I earn $0 doing best ball in DFS every year. Like, he's that guy.
Hey, wow. Leone comes on here, takes shots fired at some of the Excel people. You come on here and just spit your thumb your nose in the face of all the best ballers.
You've had to do drafts for like 6 months. You get to the point where you just get so tired of drafting the good picks that you make up reasons to take the bad picks. I do it. Listen, I do it for golf all the time. I completely get it. Once you get so burnt out of talking on the same subject, let's just pivot. We'll go the other way. It's like, the good picks, don't worry about them. The secret to winning best ball is these shit players.
All right. Well, now the onus is on you. I know the Breece Hall timeout, that was my fault, but you are going to guide us. We got about 13 more picks here. They all have to be just good players. No bad players, Pat. Are you ready to dial in and do this for us?
Let's hear it. So bring up who we have options for here. How many quarterbacks have gone so far?
Generally just the big four here: Allen, Lamar, Jaden Hurts. Yep. And then there's kind of a tier break. It looks like the running backs are kicking around here. Kenneth Walker, RJ Harvey's dropping after Dobbins signed. Kamara's here. And then you're looking at like Addison, Jawan Jennings, Chris Godwin with these next couple of picks.
Well, Jawan Jennings, actively good player. Let's throw him in the queue.
He is one of my most drafted wide receivers. I like him a good bit. Harvey's been going more like 65, 66. Kamara's still here. Addison, we'll for sure lock up Jennings, but who do you like with the second pick?
I don't mind Kamara. I actually wouldn't hate getting it. What's Cincinnati's week 1 matchup?
Ooh, week 1 matchup. I will say this isn't an eliminator draft. This is a best ball mania draft.
Oh, is it? Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't realize that. I thought it was an eliminator draft. Someone says Jennings has a calf right now. Well, that's good because I wouldn't want him without a calf. And last time I checked, we're in fucking June. Like,
hey, please do not provoke Pat Mayo right now. I need him dialed in on these picks.
Do you like Kamara better than you like Harvey? Because I don't know what to make of this Denver. You could tell me that Harvey is now the better value because he's going to catch all the passes. They won't throw to Dobbins. You just need to fade Bo Nix and Dobbins goal line touches, which if Harvey is just simply better and they believe that, then he'll get them anyway. But I don't know how that breaks down.
I just think quick say, and then we'll talk about it. Kamara, Harvey, who do you want?
Kamara.
Okay. I think like gun to my head, give me Harvey. But I think he's just going to continue to get cheaper because Dobbins keeps pushing up. And I think people are kind of worried about, Sean Payton doing Sean Payton things. I also just want to know, you have fully provoked the chat. Like this heel turn, let this guy draft the whole time since he clearly knows everything.
Well, I mean, this guy, what was the other one? The guy said that I am the final boss of not knowing ball. Hold on a second here.
I was not expecting to get adversarial Pat Mayo when I invited him on the stream.
Let's see here. Well, let's pull out some. We got football podcast of the year, football video of the year, daily fantasy writer of the year.
Look, he's pulling out the hardware.
Best football series. Oh, this one's from 13 years ago. Been around the block, pal. Sorry you're new to this and you're 19 years old. If your dad cuts off your credit card, maybe you won't be able to play so many DFS drafts. Pal, give your fucking head a shake. You think Pat Mayo knows? You're right. Pat Mayo knows.
Oh, my goodness. Bro said eat dicks. That's right. This is what I need. Leone and Pat are just too nice. When they come on here, I need someone willing to have tough conversations with these people. Maybe we are built for the sports gambling Twitter beefs, Pat. Like if you can come in with this energy, maybe you need to get in there and mix it up with Rob Pizzola and those guys.
Oh, this is like, if anyone has watched one of my lives, I don't do too many live streams and look at the chat. It just ends up with me fighting and just banning people for life off my channel. People who don't have a clue. But you're too nice for that.
That's like when we do like the Swolecast, like Davis is in charge of the chat and like I'll look up and notice that he's like banned 3 people. And then I'll be like, what did they say? Or whatever. And he's like, oh, they just like rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, you're just wiping out half of our active audience in the chat with the ban hammer. But the
thing is, people love, because I mean, the annoying guy in the stream isn't just annoying to me and you. He's annoying to anyone who's reading the stream.
True.
So when you can call that guy out and ban him, big time approval rating spike.
Generally, though, Davis is just banning people who are exclusively trolling him and not maybe the overall show. But a lot of your content's pre-recorded. Like you don't do a ton of live streams, right? So you don't have the live chat dynamic as much.
And I do a live stream every Wednesday morning. Tambo and I actually do. We do it for golf and golf season. I do it on Fridays in football season. But we only get to the chat at the end, and we do it really early in the morning. So these people that live at home in their parents' basement, they're not up to troll. So they've been up all night, like smoking weed and playing video games. It's not at 4:00 in the afternoon. So we're free from then. Sunday nights where it gets spicy during football season. Cust and I go live. I mean, Leone's been on. I don't know if you've been on that one before. It's right before Sunday Night Football when the last games end. We're doing a bit of a sweat. We recap the day and then we go into everything. We get a few trolls on that, but that's just more fun than anything.
It is. Yeah. Especially too, because if you record right then, that's when everyone's coming off of a rough Sunday, like losing at DFS. You lost your season-long matchups. Everyone's a little more testy on a Sunday evening there too.
Well, fortunately, I never win, so I can really be the voice of the audience on that. It's like, yeah, well, I won $0 today. People are like, yeah, me too. I get it. I'm with you, Mayo.
That's right. You just gave me flashbacks to my Monday morning portfolio reviews, going through dead DFS lineups. Can't wait for that in 2 months or whatever.
So we're up here next.
Yes. We got 3 running backs, 3 wide receivers. I think I don't see anything we need to do with quarterback here.
Well, I feel kind of stupid because I thought we were doing an eliminator draft with the first few picks. So our stack situation does not look optimal here.
Well, Penix, Caleb Williams, Purdy, we got stack options later. So I think we can still focus on running back, wide receiver, or tight end here. Pollard, Ayuk, Hawkinson, Downs, Brian Robinson, Cup, Igbuka. You got any favorites in there?
Who do you think ends up starting for Indy quarterback-wise?
I think it's going to be Daniel Jones.
Oh, boy. I don't know if that's better or worse, actually. Let's throw in. So it's Pollard and Brian Robinson are the 2 best right now.
I did just take Josh Downs because that was the only inclination when you were asking me about the Colts.
And it gives us a touch of the Downs. We can make that stack happen later. Do you like Pollard or Robinson better? I'm kind of indifferent to both of them.
I kind of like Pollard because if we want to get Cam Ward and do a Titans thing later, he's pretty cheap.
All right, that works for me.
All right, we'll grab him. And now we got a 4x4 here. Genty, Breece Hall, Alvin Kamara, Tony Pollard, 4 wide receivers, Drake London, DJ Moore, Suck It Nerds, Jawan Jennings, and Josh Downs. Yes. I don't know if that was intended to when you said.
Oh no, that's his name. I don't do my full rankings anymore because I just don't care. But for 13 years, I would basically had a nickname. People couldn't figure out the rankings by the end of it because they were just nicknames for players.
This is your heel turn here is actually earning you new subscribers and viewers. Manly Moose says this rant has successfully gotten me to check out Mayo's stuff. Anyone else you want to berate in the chat in hopes of landing more subscribers for the Mayo Media Network?
Yes, he said, bro, flex about writing. Congratulations, you're a writer. I am. I also have the video and the podcasting. I think I'm the only person that's ever won all of these awards. I believe I'm the most winning person of these awards over the past 15 years.
Well, Ollie wants to know how much you've won on Underdog Best Ball. This is where he's really taking umbrage with your
tweets. Fuck. I mean, I'm not some fucking loser who plays best ball all the time. I'm in the Pick 'em streets and I'm gambling, pal. I'm an adult.
How are the Pick 'em streets going for you these days?
Good. I've been using a tool and I've been cleaning up at WNBA. So that's really where my profit center is coming from right now.
Do you sweat the WNBA bets or you just place them and collect?
Place them, wake up, money in the account. It's great.
Okay. Yeah, the WNBA stuff too. And I know, it's getting a little bit bigger. I know ETR has ranks for WNBA contests on Underdog now, and you got a tool.
Let's calm down on that front. There's pick 'em games available. You can play them every night. Just beat the props. Come on. I got 45 minutes. Let me bang out this fucking WNBA. I got nothing going on in my life. Let me hang out in the WNBA draft streets.
I think this is a gateway drug. I think you're going to get hooked on the WNBA pick'ems, and next thing you know, you're going to be drafting WNBA best ball teams.
It's funny when Underdog comes to you and I and signs us, they're looking for 2 completely separate things, I believe, because you really do cultivate best ball well and talk it through. And I like watching you do these streams just because I enjoy the repertoire between you and your guests. With mine, people are only there for pick 'em. They're like, give me the picks. That's what I care about. I'm not sitting down for 50 minutes and doing a draft. The
Yes.
PGA ones are easy because they take 10 minutes. And there's actually big prizes for those. And they last all year long. You do them in January, you figure out what happens at the end of August. I can devote the 10 minutes to that while I'm like running on the treadmill or something. But I don't know. Just every night just seems like such a grind.
In the aren't you it's the wanting like the drafts but for an entire event like PGA Championship instead of just single days? That would be the holy grail, right?
I've been pushing it. That's the first thing that I did when I got there. I was like, yo, these single day drafts, I'm sure they're great for rake, but you're getting far fewer players than you would that if I could get on the show and do a full tournament draft me 10 players or 8 players, whatever it might be, because then it mimics the style of the salary cap game that people like so much, but gives it a slightly different twist, and it'll keep people engaged over the 4 days. You would just get bigger prize pools, you would get more people engaged, and the people that are hesitant who don't want to do pick 'em or live in a champion state or live in a state that doesn't have pick 'em at all but has drafting, it gets them over as well. I could push the hell out of that. The single day stuff it's so random. Like golf's random enough. You get a single round of golf, it's super random.
It would kind of be fun to have that for some of the NFL slates as well. Just with them, like you imagine opening weekend, right? You have Thursday, Friday, Sunday, and Monday. If you just had one big long slate for every single one of those games, would be a pretty fun sweat.
Yeah, and they go up and down. They go up and down like that. That's what we're here for, right? The entertainment value. I mean, that's why I always like golf more than anything else. Like your budget for hell, 100. Golf's the only sport where you could budget $100, win 2,000, and have a sweat for 4 days.
I like this take. WNBA is just like the NBA if players just hated each other. It low-key rules. And it's one thing we discovered on Lulz, too. A lot of players dating each other, too, which adds another level of drama to the mix.
Yeah, but I don't hear that much about that. I just hear about everyone who hates each other. Are they hating each other because they're exes? That?
I think so.
Just make it. Just put it on CBS as a reality show, like during the off season. I'll watch that. And it'll be like that Drive to Survive F1. Everyone got into F1 with the reality show. Make the WNBA reality show. My wife and I will watch it. Then I'll start watching the games. Then I'll start doing drafts. In fact, I'll do the reality show draft about people who score points that way. Because I mean, the Pat Mayo female audience is still left over from the Fantasy Bachelor and Fantasy Challenge days.
We're on the clock, Pat. Do you want to get Caleb Williams with DJ Moore as one of our quarterbacks?
Sure. Let's do that.
Okay. So we'll do that with one pick. Justin Fields is here too. We could pair him with Breece Hall. We could grab a tight end, Evan Ingram, another wide receiver, Rashad Bateman. Anything you like here?
No.
Let's see. Why don't we go 2 quarterback here and then we can kind of be done and not worry about it. Fields is a nice value here.
I assume we take Ritter, then we get Pitts later on.
Penix.
Oh, Penix. Yeah, sorry. Ritter.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that was an option for us as well. If we had another player we liked, we can still do a 3 quarterback build with Caleb and Justin Fields. I think that's fine.
Well, who are the beyond Garrett Wilson? What is the Jets depth chart looking like right now?
It's
terrible.
It's
I assume.
Yeah, I mean they drafted that rookie tight end Mason Taylor, who's going to play. He's the only other like wide receiver going. Like if you search just by Jets, it goes Braylon Allen, Mason Taylor, Josh Reynolds, and Alan Lazard. That's the crew there. Josh Reynolds is the wide receiver 2 by ADP right now.
Well, you got I've been told by Jets insider Tim Andercuss how good Josh Reynolds is, and that Malachi Corley, although it was supposed to happen last year, this year definitely the Yak King is coming through. I mean, drafting any Jets players that aren't Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson really violates the don't draft bad players rule.
Yeah, that's what you really need, though. You need the Andercuss hopium that just like the absolute dust balls on the end of the Jets roster are actually going to be fantasy relevant.
Well, there's a chance like Tyrod starting by week 3. It feels sucks.
Oh, God. Now, that's a world scenario I don't want to live in. But yes, I guess if he Fields just 3 straight games of just complete tanking and they have no choice.
I mean, they might think that they're getting better with Tyrod.
Oh my God. I mean, they committed so fully to this Fields experiment, but yes, the alternative scenarios are very dire.
I don't mind Fields. I think Fields could be good. Just feel like when you go to the Jets, you're just destined to fail.
It does feel like that. I mean, just what they sold that franchise on for those 2 years with Rodgers, and one, of course, snake bitten by injury. But watching last year was a true train wreck It was fitting that I had Ron Stewart on, another self-loathing Jets fan, on the randomizer this past week. He actually played a game, Pat, and I just posted a short called Alan Lazard or Lizard, and he had to identify whether images were of the wide receiver Alan Lazard or of an actual lizard, which I think is a good kind of testament to the state of the Jets franchise right now.
Did he do well with the game?
He did decent. He did get stumped a few times there as well. So maybe not a true Jets fan. I wonder how Andercust would do with Lizard versus Lazard.
Very poorly, probably. I mean, he loved Alan Lazard until Rodgers left. Now he hates Rodgers. He's very upset about week 1. So this might be the time to invest in Aaron Rodgers.
That is, many are wondering there. It's hard to find someone with a lower Q rating in the NFL. You don't hear too many people, even Steelers fans, who are like, fuck yeah, Aaron Rodgers, man.
Oh, you wait till if he's actually week 1, if he's good, Steelers fans are doing the 180 very quickly.
Yes.
Yeah, we have a quarterback who can complete a pass more than 11 yards down the field. This is great.
It could work. It absolutely could work. All right, I'm going to recap this team for you so far, so we're not completely caught off guard at this next turn. We got Caleb Williams and Justin Fields at quarterback. We got 4 running backs: Genty, Breece Hall, Kamara, and Pollard. Wide receivers still at 4: Drake London, DJ Moore, Jawan Jennings, and Josh Downs. How do you feel about this squad that you've helped draft maybe 70% of the picks and the other 30% were auto drafted?
It's very bad. Would be my assessment. Maybe F is stretching it. D-, a very solid D-, although D- would represent a passable grade. So it's probably an F is where I would be. And that's not for fantastic. That's for fucking terrible. But
wow. So not only did you alienate half of my audience by calling them best ball virgin losers who use their dad's credit card to max out best ball contests, but we're also drafting a shitty team in the process. Thank you for coming, Pat.
Yeah, well, you see, what we're doing here is, especially if some of these people are in the draft with us, we're trying to reallocate that money back into the ecosystem, Pete.
That is right.
It's actually benevolent. I'm sort of like Robin Hood.
That is very nice. Unfortunately, though, I have not been printing on WNBA Pick Ems. Apparently, I need to start tailing your links, and then maybe I'll have some money to burn in here.
Yeah, let me tell you about the great players. I don't know any of their names, which makes it more hilarious. The more I know about something, the worse I'm probably going to do about it. Ryan Howard, lower than 4.5 rebounds, 1. Not even close, Pete.
Okay.
Killing it over here. Kiki Iferen, lower than 8.5, lower. Jackie Young, lot of lower on rebounds is where you want to be.
All right. Here's the deal. We're on the clock. I think we should take Colston Loveland. He fell, and he stacks up with Caleb Williams, who we already selected. And
we can take Luther Vandross after, too. My guy.
No, he's already gone.
Great.
We should probably grab another wide receiver here. I refuse to collect this guy, Jack Bash, who is just a made-up player on the Raiders. But Hollywood Brown, Quentin Johnson, Joshua Palmer, Leggett, anyone you like?
Yeah, let's take Josh Palmer.
Okay, yeah.
Go Canada strong.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that. Who are the other players? Who's the other Canadian player?
Chuba Hubbard's Canadian.
Chuba, yep.
There's not a lot.
Does when you do a fantasy draft, if you do it with a bunch of Bills fans, Josh Allen always goes 1 round too early or whatever. In Canadian drafts, does Josh Palmer and Chuba take a national premium in the rooms?
No, you have to remember when it comes to Canadians and assessing football, that they just assume if you're Canadian, you're really bad at football. So those guys actually go later than they probably should.
Okay. That's right. Yeah. Does it offend you guys when people, as a pejorative to players who are on the out, saying, he's going to be great when he's in the CFL? Does that hurt Canadians' feelings? Those kind of jokes?
I'm sure if you live in Alberta, it might. For the rest of us, we agree.
What about the risk of you guys being invaded by the United States? Is that still prevailing?
It's still a thing up here. It seems like Davis and I actually covered this on the Takecast, I think, 2 weeks ago. That it's still a thing to us, but you guys don't seem to care anymore.
Yeah, I haven't. We're on to the 28th thing after that, but I can understand how up there that would still be a major talking point.
Yeah, the G8's happening up here right now. I think it started today.
Okay, all right, there you go. So you guys will bring peace to the world via your Canadian kindness.
I wanted to. Kindness is probably pushing it. It's just more passive aggressiveness than anything else. Disguised as politeness. Polite is probably not kind. polite, mean, but
That's
in a
true.
formal way, sort of like
There's
British.
passive aggressive politeness for sure.
Yeah, Ryan says Pat hates drafting it, built his whole brand on fantasy football. I mean, that's true, but I really got out of fantasy football in like 2015. So it's been a decade of gambling in DFS, which is most of my career at this point.
To be fair, I brought Pat on so we could just talk about Canadian U.S. politics. The fact that a draft is occurring in the background is just a minor feature of the stream.
That's essentially any show that I do, really. Whether it's my show or anyone else's show. This is just what happens.
What other stuff do you have coming on tap this year? Are you getting ready to gear up for a bunch of season long prep shows on the network?
Yeah, I actually have a season-long show because I'm going to allocate 1 day a week to season-long, like fantasy news updates, everything like that. The rest will be gambling and DFS in season. But I can't say what it is yet, but you are partnered with one of the places that I'm trying to partner with this and have a 3-way weave show that I'm actually really excited about. If we can get it off the ground, everyone just needs to agree to it, then we're fine.
All right. I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued. And what I'm going to be recording with you later today. What are we going to talk about on there?
Aaron Rodgers, and then probably the AI Yahoo thing, because I saw there was more news in that today.
Oh, was there? Oh,
yeah, Canadian Justin Boone of The Score signs with Yahoo Fantasy.
Is he an AI agent?
He is not. He's very, very good ranker.
Is that a PR move by them to be like, hey, whoa, we're still investing in flesh and blood human beings?
I don't know.
Interesting.
He's very good, so that makes a ton of sense to me.
Do you want Penix is here? Do you want to go 3 quarterbacks and do like Penix, Kyle Pitts? I could draft Kyle Pitts on 3 straight teams today if you want. Or
let's do it. Let's do Penix Pitts.
Penix Pitts. The haters are absolutely in shambles. 3 straight teams with Kyle Pitts, the worst tight end in the league. We're killing it.
This guy says, yeah, PME left football when I stopped watching. I do 6 football shows a week during football season. They just, I don't really care about your $10 season-long league. You're like my awful friends who are like, Pat, do you want to come play? What's the buy-in? Oh, it's $20. Like, for the year? Like, no, thanks. Like, I'll take a pass on that. I know it seems awful, but like, I just don't have the time for this anymore. I got to play all this other stuff, Pete. I got to spend probably $2,000 a week on Underdog making pick 'ems, $2,000 on DraftKings playing DFS, in for like $3,000 for betting. It's just not getting my attention. I don't want to lose. I'd rather not join than just be the guy who doesn't set his team.
How you started reciting that as like one of those viral meme tweets where it's like listing out the budget, rent, groceries, like 2,000 in WNBA Pick Ems, 2,000 in DraftKings team. I'd love to see the full Pat Mayo budget there.
It's actually worse during, it's probably not worse right now because in the days where golf is not on, I get my action down on stuff I know nothing about. But fortunately, the optimizers, the tools, they're very good. Apparently at the stuff that I don't actually watch or cover. And it's so much more stress-free. Like when I have a football stuff on the go or golf stat on the go, like I'm obviously watching and sweating down and melting down in real time. When I'm playing the extender and getting my boosts on Underdog for the NBA playoffs, I'm not watching that shit, but I can win money on it.
I know I'm such like, I wake up to these group chats. My college buddies they have some bets on the finals, the hockey finals. And I just wake up to 100 messages and I'm just like, I'm sorry guys, I'll see who wins in the morning. But I'm not staying up for these games.
Well, it's been a problem for our home league too, because half the people just only care about gambling at this point, and the other people are very gambling adverse. Like this is their big expenditure for the year. It's like, guys, like you spend more on. I mean, those guys also don't smoke, but it's like a pack. You're paying in a pack of cigarettes for the year in Canadian dollars.
Speaking of expenses and smokes, did your co-hosts for the live show, did they have a writer? Did Andercuss want, red M&Ms? What did they request for their green room there?
The green room didn't have much in it. I'm the only one who ate before the show. My wife was very big on like, you need to get something into you before this, like, because you're going to have a beer on stage. You don't want to be drunk up there. I was like, yeah, like one like very tall draft on an empty stomach. I probably will be drunk. So yeah, let's get some food into me. So I had some grilled chicken with some rice. So that's all that was in there. I ate it. And then we were doing the show and Cam comes out like 45 minutes in and he's eating the rice that I didn't eat 3 hours beforehand.
I think that's the lesson learned. You need to also have a catered spread up there, because nothing goes better with podcasting than shoving your face with food while eating. But that is a real thing. Like you got to get that base in before a long night of drinking, because it's like being at a wedding, right? Like they always tell you, you gotta eat, because you're just not going to pay attention. You're going to be sipping champagne the whole night and then getting sloppy.
Yeah, the champagne is actually what gets you, because you're like, hey, you're so excited to be there. Everyone's like toasting a glass. If you're like me, you drink it like beer. You drink everything like beer. So I don't drink liquor anymore, because
Yes.
whether it be a rum and coke, a draft, a can of beer, it's just going back. So like champagne, people actually do. You'll see the one or two people that are good with sipping it out of the flute, but most people just pound champagne, and then 30 minutes later they're on the floor.
I realized I did that last night, actually. So we were doing Father's Day dinner with my in-laws, and, they poured some nice red wine to have with our steaks. And I took a sip of the wine like it was a beer. It was like my first sip. And I was going to just start like chugging them down. I was like, what am I doing? This is a really nice bottle of wine. But my reflex was to drink the wine like a beer for a second.
Yeah, well, I guess you get conditioned to like whatever you drink the most. So if you drink water, that probably translates into beer really well, because if you're actively going to the gym, you're always taking like big swigs of water. You're not, sipping on water when you're out of breath and you're trying to rehydrate. Kind of goes hand in hand with how you drink beer. Like the only time I really drink beer now, like drink it all, honestly, is on the golf course. I'll like have a beer or two if I'm out with friends. And that's not like let's have a little sip, put it back in, mainly because I walk and I put it into my cup holder. And if there's not a whole bunch out of it, it just spills over the top anyway. So you got to take that big first swig. But the same thing happens to me that happened to you, is that you get that first glass of wine, and even if it's a deep pour, you're like, yeah, there's a ton in this. Then you kind of forget and take the big swig, and then it hits you right away.
Exactly. All right, we're on the clock. We should probably get some more wide receivers. I kind of like De'Ami Brown this year on the Jags a little bit. Hopkins, Slayton, Calvin Austin, Yoshivas, Coker. Any other names stand out to you?
Yeah, let's get coked.
Yes. All right, another. You want to do De'Ami Brown and Jalen Coker there?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Do you just like his name, Jalen Coker, or do you have any nice football things to say about him?
I mean, he won me a bunch of money in DFS last year, so that was very nice of him. He had those 2 weeks in that 4-week span when he was the only guy left standing. I don't know how it's going to work out in Carolina. Everyone was bought back in last year. I think that their over was the most bet on over, and obviously they sucked last year until the end of the year. And now they have that good vibes. It reminds me of the Dolphins from the mid-aughts, like the 2008, maybe I'm getting the dates wrong, like 2008 to 2013 range, where they would just suck every single year. The last 6 weeks of the season, they would go 5-1. And they'd be like the sleeper team going into the next year, and they just suck for the first 10 weeks. I worry that might happen to Carolina again.
And the thing is, at least though with them, it's like they just decided, hey, our defense is awful, so we will probably suck, but we're not going to invest in it at all. And, you draft a wide receiver in the top 10, and you basically just say, we're going to have a fun offense and suck in entertaining fashion, which for our purposes in fantasy is like great. Like the Panthers will probably lose like 13 games, but they still could score like 30 points in a bunch of them, which could be great.
Do you think that their defense improved enough, though, that we're not going to see that?
I don't know if it did. They didn't really address much in the draft.
No, but they're going to get like what, 2 or 3 guys back, and maybe they have incentive to bring them back for week 1 now, where at the end of last year they were like, yeah, no, you're probably still a bit too injured. Why don't you take the rest of the year off?
Yeah, but they also still like the way the division 2 they play in, it's just like the Bucks, the Falcons, the Saints, all those defenses are bad. You get to play in the dome or warm weather. It just feels like a nice environment for a lot of fantasy scoring.
I would tend to agree, and pretty good conditions the entire time, because you're going to get those games at the Falcons, at the Saints, and then you might get rain, I suppose, in Carolina, in Tampa, but it shouldn't be like frigid like it's going to be in some other divisions. Now, I just don't know what to make. How bad are the Saints going to be? Like, are they going to be like historically bad? Because I went and looked at the odds for the worst record in the league, and it was the Browns. But
really,
the Browns are better, like way better than the Saints. I actually don't think the Browns are going to be all that bad.
Well, and the Browns, like, they know what they do well. They're going to run the ball. They're going to play defense. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I also just want to point out, Pat, despite alienating the chat early, the the chat's kind of liking how this team is shaking out. And I actually think we held true, other than the Kyle Pitts click, to mainly just trying to click good players we know who are going to be on the field, who aren't going to be zeros, Palmer, De'Ami Brown, Coker. So I think you won people back over with your sharp best ball drafting knowledge.
There we go. Yeah, I'm 3 into this. Didn't even know what style of best ball draft we were doing. We gotta listen. It's what, June 16th?
It's June 16th,
we got time.
Matt.
I have other content I can use to fill the airwaves in April that I don't need to be in these streets all that early. But it is fun getting back into it to like re-trigger some stuff in your mind. I'll write down some takes after this. Got to workshop it with you. I'll try to refine them over the next 2 months and then release a very stylized, professional looking video. And people are like, man, that guy knows what he's talking about.
This is part of your training. It's coming on here, throwing on the weighted vest, doing the workout, and then you will emerge there. So we do have 2 more picks to recap, because I always got to service my audio listeners here. We got a 3-4-7-2, Caleb Williams, Justin Fields, Michael Penix. There was some concern in the chat about double week 5 buys. Don't worry, we have 3 quarterbacks. Ashton Genty, Breece Hall, Kamara, Tony Pollard at running back. Drake London, DJ Moore, Jawan Jennings, Josh Downs, Joshua Palmer, De'Ami Brown, all the Browns, Jalen Coker at wide receiver, Loveland and Kyle Pitts at tight end. 2 more picks here. One's probably a running back, and then the other one could probably be a wide receiver or tight end, depending on how you're feeling.
Would you want to do another tight end?
If Mason Taylor falls to us,
wait, do we have to? Does that say, I can barely see the screen? Does that say 2 week 5 buys for tight ends? That seems suboptimal.
Exactly. So that's why we should probably take the week 9 Mason Taylor here, which he should fall, because I don't think the what is going to take a 4th tight end.
Yeah, let's do it.
So that gives us the 3rd tight end. And then I say we go with a 5th running back here. Dylan Sampson and Brashard Smith are guys that have been clicking. I don't mind Justice Hill, but on a team where we have really good running backs, Genty, Breece, Kamara, Pollard, I think we can take like a rookie upside swing on like a Dylan Sampson or a Brashard Smith or Keaton
Let me ask you this, and this kind of dovetails back into the Browns conversation we were just having.
Yeah.
Before the draft, Jerome Ford was going at what, pick 70?
Yeah.
So what happens if
Jerome Ford was like 130, 140.
Okay,
yeah.
But he was expected to be at least like the 1A in whatever backfield that they had. And now he's just been shoved aside?
Yes, pretty much. I think it's an ambiguous backfield, but the Judkins and Dylan Sampson picks, and I just autoed Dylan Sampson there, but I think it's a pretty tough out for him to have fantasy relevance. He could have it early, but it's like, if you invest in these 2 rookie running backs, are you going to be playing the veteran on a bad team down the stretch? Probably not.
Well, I think it all depends on how this team shapes up. Like, I think that they'll be a little bit better. I think their defense is still fine. And if they how many games did they win last year? 4? Was it that many? They probably won more than that, didn't they? ESPN NFL standings. 5, 6. Like, Jameis was fun fantasy-wise, but he wasn't good. Deshaun Watson was the worst quarterback in the league. They won 3 games last year. Okay, that makes more sense. No matter who they start at quarterback, I feel like their quarterback is going to be upgraded. No matter if it's just because they have 5 guys.
It has to be.
They have to be better on that side. That depending on how I'd like to see the PFF numbers on these guys' college blocking, although it's really hard to tell running back pass protection from college because it's all scheme dependent, and even the conference that they play in, whether or not guys are actually actively attacking the quarterback. But Jerome Ford is good in pass protection, that I could see him, especially if they go with Sanders or Gabriel, being on the field a little bit more to give them an easy outlet pass, to give them an extra blocker, because they did draft the extra tight end, but it's not like they drafted 2 blocking tight ends. They now have 2 receiving tight ends. So they need someone out there for at least a chip to help out some of these young quarterbacks, or even to make a call or 2 about something they see on the field. Like, you don't like to line up all of the rookies in the backfield at one time. I think if they go Flacco or even Pickett, you might see the rookies get on the field a little bit more, but I think that we'll see some Jerome Ford out there. I mean, is he good enough to take in one of these drafts? That I do not know, but I think he'll get playing time. Like more than Abdullah got with the Raiders last year. That's the role that I envision for him. but with a few more touches, that if things do break down in front of them, we see that player become somewhat, they're good because they don't need to do all their damage on the ground. We know Ford can catch passes. And if that's his role anyway, if we add carries to him or some goal line work because of injuries, then that player actually becomes a lot better than maybe the inverse happening, that if the pass catcher goes down, they just bring in another, they sign Dare Agawaga Balune off a free agency and be like, oh, this guy can catch passes, we'll throw to him, rather than it going the other way.
Yeah. And I think it's more just like a tight needle you have to thread, in that, like, if they're good enough to have like a decent record, and then it's like, okay, like then the veteran is helping us win and the rookies aren't ready, then those scenarios. But it's just like the most likely thing is the Browns are probably not a playoff team and are going to want to see what they fully have in Judkins and Sampson down the stretch. But I will say, like, the teams where I would grab, and this is getting into nerdy best ball stuff, it's like if I go a 0 RB team and I wait to draft my first running back, like grabbing a guy like Jerome Ford, the Austin Ecklers of the world, it's like they're going to be out there week 1. And I know not, give me a 0. But when I'm loaded up, like we were with Ashton Hall, with Ashton Jeanty and Breece Hall and Kamara, then I'm like, let me take a bigger rookie swing, because I know that the base is really strong. Yeah,
it makes more sense. You see, now you're schooling me. I'll use that thought process more when I don't do more of these drafts.
Let's recap it here. I also want to mention, I mentioned this at the top of the show. Immediately following this, over on my other YouTube channel, The Deposit Kingdom, I'm going to have a video debuting. It's going to be like a live premiere thing, another draft strategy video with Madison Parkhill, really sharp best ball guy, has a great Substack. So if you want to watch us talk through some of his favorite strategic angles in drafts right now, just stay tuned right here after this, and it will magically pop up on your screen. Otherwise, you can head to the Deposit Kingdom channel for that. But I'm going to recap this team here and get Pat's final thoughts. Caleb Williams, Justin Fields, Michael Penix, our 3 quarterback room. We've got our 5 running backs: Jeanty, Breece Hall, Kamara, Tony Pollard, and Dylan Sampson. 7 wide receivers: Drake London, DJ Moore, Juwan Jennings, Josh, a touch of downs, Joshua Palmer, De'Ami Brown, Jalen Coker, and 3 tight ends: Colston Loveland, Kyle Pitts, and Mason Taylor. Double stacks with Caleb Williams and Justin Fields. Got the stack with Michael Penix. I'm not going to lie, Pat, for how this draft started, I think we landed the plane.
It's actually not that. Now that you've read out the names, like looking at, especially the depth at running back, that if this ends up becoming a running back heavy year where they do outpace everyone, we just need to be healthy at running back. And it feels like we have enough of the same guys at all of the other positions that we can get a spike week out of one of those 3 guys most of the time. Like if Fields is a top 5 quarterback 3 of 17 weeks, would that surprise you?
No, it wouldn't. I think Fields is one of the more intriguing picks, minus the fact that you said he's going to get benched for Tyrod Taylor 3 weeks into the season.
That would not be good for this team. And then between Caleb Williams and Penix, you need one of them to make a leap. Honestly, and based on what you said about Carolina in terms of Penix and us having London, I guess if Pitts ends up staying, I think he'll end up staying in Atlanta. Do you really think he's going to get traded to Pittsburgh?
No, I don't.
No, I don't either. But maybe, listen, crazier things have happened. But if we can get a few good Falcons, the Falcons seem like they're our floor stack in all of this. Like it feels like they'll score points every week. And we just know that Bijan is going way too highly to score 30 fantasy points a week. They'll find a way to screw up Bijan again, where, hey, Bijan had 27 carries in this game. He has like 13 fantasy points somehow. And then the games where he gets 3 touches, he'll score 31 points somehow. But with Penix and London together, I feel like we can offset maybe the bad Fields week, the bad Caleb Williams week, and hopefully get a few spike weeks there, that he's sort of our tread water guy, that we're not actively losing ground to all the Josh Allen teams, all the Lamar teams. Between the 3 guys we have, I think we have enough upside in that beacon of potential consistency. Maybe he sucks, who knows? But I have enough faith in Penix that he could be a top 12-ish quarterback, but almost in that Phillip Rivers vein where you look at the end of the year and he finished 11th at quarterback, yet he had no top 5 weeks, but he had no weeks worse than 13th. He feels like one of those guys to me.
Yeah, no, I like it. One other fun thing, we're playing in these top heavy contests. If we get this to week 17, the stack, we got Caleb Williams double stack coming back with our guy, Juwan Jennings, San Francisco and Chicago week 17. So I can already see it in my eye. Juwan Jennings catching 14 balls while the Bears have to catch up and DJ Morris making big plays.
How did that play out the past 2 years? The last week's stacks. I remember after like the first big year people did analysis on best ball, that's where everyone was pointing to. It's like, well, you actually just have to draft your teams around week 17. Did that prove to be a thing, or was it just way more random the last 2 years?
So the team that won Best Ball Mania this past year, he had the bigger team stack. So he had a huge San Francisco stack, and they, went nuts against the Lions in week 17. And then he had the huge Cincinnati stack. So he did like bigger team bets. But then it was like Pat's year and the Fareed year both had like week 17 game stack. So stacking massively important. The team stack slightly more important, but then 539 person final. It's nice to have those bringbacks.
It is nice to have the bringbacks, but I think if you might have another team that's matched up with like the overload stack that you have. But if you have two of the big ones, it's very unlikely that another team is going to have the exact same two as you with fewer than 600 people.
Yep, for sure. And like, that's the stuff like, things thin out so much as far as, people always worry about, duplicated starts or whatever. And it's like when you go through the week 1 through 14 pod, the week 15 pod, the week 16 pod, it just keeps thinning out teams. So it's like, you're going to have a decent amount of unique pieces, even if some of the most popular players are represented on a bunch of the teams.
That makes a ton of sense. You excited to talk about football in a completely opposite way on my show for tomorrow's show?
Yes, I am. So we're going to head over there, and then that will air tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Nice. Audio and video for the people.
Audio and video for the people. I might even stream it on Twitter so I can get extra views, which I'll send to my ad buyer, and then I'll get extra money out of it, despite no one actually watching it.
I was going to say, what is your view on that? I haven't been doing any of the Twitter co-streaming with my shows, just making people come to YouTube. But do you think it's a value add?
I mean, it's a value add for me because I'm selling it based on views and impressions. And for whatever reason, they count Twitter views as like 1-to-1, the same as like an Apple download and listen and Spotify or YouTube view. I was like, well, guess who can game this system and make more money?
How do you think it's counted? Because I've noticed that too, where it does seem like the views are completely juiced. Is it just like if someone opens it up once for like a half second, it then just registers it as a view? Or why do you think it's overinflated?
I think that if you just scroll by it on your timeline and it plays for less than a second, like it plays for a second, like you just kind of stop like, hey, what's that? And it plays for a second while it's live, and then you keep scrolling past it. I think that counts.
I think it does too, based on the numbers. Cause I'm like, there's no way there's this many people who are just sitting there uninterrupted watching a video on Twitter.
I can't watch a 5-second video on Twitter. Like if I'm on Twitter, I'm on the timeline, like seeing news that's going on. I don't want to sit there and watch videos. There's other apps for that.
Seriously. Okay, so Pat and I are going to go do that. That's pre-recorded. You guys can head over to the Deposit Kingdom channel. If you somehow didn't get your fill of best ball content, 4 hours was not enough for you. Well, guess what? I have another 45 minutes on tap for you over there. As far as the rest of my schedule this week, business as usual. Swolecast tomorrow at noon with Davis and Kitchen. Often on the clock with the Badge Bros, Nez and John at 1:30. Wednesday is Best Ball Bash, where one of you guys can hop on stream and draft a team with me if you're a YouTube member and use that hashtag at the top of the show. Randomizer guest this week is Coach Speak Index. I think we're going to make him sing. He's been doing his karaoke stuff. We're going to make him sing. Lulls on Thursday, ship chasing Thursday, all of that good stuff. Appreciate everyone hanging out in the chat, even after Pat Mayo verbally berated you. I guess before we go, do you either want to double down on calling them virgins or, hand off an olive branch to this crew?
Well, I see Davis is commenting about something that neither one of us said, but Davis stepping in with his point that no one made, and now he's arguing with it. No one said that they were concurrent views. It's just the total amount of views. I'm just saying they're fugazi numbers. But yes, remember to smash the like while you're here. And maybe smashing that like will get you out of your mother or father's basement. I mean, who knows whose basement it is these days. But seeing the sun, touching some grass, it'll do wonders for you. And you can even backdoor your way into drafting great best ball teams like Pete and I just did. You don't even have to really just draft some good players. Don't forget about that part. If they sound like someone who's a Madden Create player and you have to Google their names, probably don't want to take that guy. That's my piece of advice.
There you go. Stick to what you know. We went on a journey with Pat Mayo on this stream. It got a little hostile at certain points, but sometimes I think this crew needs tough love. I think in the DFS streets, Pat, we get our dick kicked in every Sunday. We build up this thick skin. We know how to handle it. Best ball, we're a little coddled over here. It's, every 9 months you kind of find out the results, how it went. I think we appreciated your talk to us today, and I'm going to really internalize it going forward.
Well, you do have one of those positive communities. You don't see many of those on the internet anymore. So there is something to be said for that. But I'm bringing the negativity. That's what I bring. I need to bring everyone down to my level of just sheer hatred, because that's what the internet's really about.
And everyone should bring themselves down to the Pat Mayo Media Network. I'll link to that YouTube channel down below, and you can find me on it later this week. Go watch the Deposit Kingdom video. We'll see you guys next week on Best Ball Breakfast for 4 more drafts as usual. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you next time.